Previously on the SMITE Minor League.
I hope you all are ready because it's time for the SMITE Minor League.
9 matchup between these two teams. An interesting tale of the tales where a little bit of a slip up for Simplicity in the previous week, dropping their set towards Queso, but then a hot streak for Horizon Union beating Queso and even Flashpoint.
Simplicity take this one in 3 games, but Horizon Union really put them through the ringer. An impressive one for sure.
This is a real team, no doubt about it. I mean, Horizon Union is a team that you have to be preparing for and ready for when it comes to the European Minor League. I am excited to talk about Exordium versus Out Cold. This is a set that Out Cold, if they want to get towards that top end and try and get to that top 2, it's a must win. I mean, you just cannot afford to drop even, this should be a 2-0.
Here, Out Cold Gaming, 40 minutes, they hold on and close this one out, 2-0.
Man, that was a sweater, honestly. Huge. Like, if you're an OCG fan, you gotta be fearful about how Exordium were making that game in the early game.
We're over into NA now.
We really are. Those were some really epic EU sets in the previous one, but now we're gonna cross the waters.
Exilium will be the first one here in the picks and bans. Team Cryptic on the other side. And look at that, Tolly, right away. We just had to get over North America.
And a Warrior, Sybil Diesel, and Jingle Bang. And of course, Coat Baby, bring it home.
Look, this Cryptic team, like I said, coming in, they're the favorites coming into this. I mean, they're both middle-of-the-pack teams, but Cryptic has clearly shown that they're a slightly better squad.
Completely agree. Let's get into picks and bans then and see how this one breaks down between the two. Obviously, talking a little bit more about this risky behavior business team. They had a shot to join the league to get some better experience. I think it's a really good option for them.
Grabbing the Titan now, putting them up at 6-1 in the standings. Unfortunate first opponent for risky behavior. Welcome to the SMITE Minor League.
Yeah, don't worry, fellas. No one else really seems to know how to beat this team either. They have been a force here in Phase 2 in the North American Minor League.
Hype Unit take down the set 2 over risky business. With you look behavior.
There it is. You got close. I mean, you wrote it down. Good try, man.
I hope that you're ready, everybody out there, because the minor league is going to be stacked today. Thank you for joining us, and my name is Finch. We're going to be starting off in Europe, and to help me break that all down, I'm joined by Ryan Aggro Bailey right over here to my left. And Ryan, like I was alluding to, man, we've got some really big sets lined up. This first one, Flashpoint versus Exordium, maybe it looks a bit imbalanced, but I think could still be good.
Yeah, I mean, this is getting down to brass tacks time, and the minor league has been incredibly competitive in both regions now, where you have to get to that top 2 if you want to make it to placement week, and neither region is by any stretch of the imagination already decided. So I'm excited, man. The minor league these last few weeks is going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, I was thinking, maybe we should start talking about some of those qualifying scenarios and that sort of thing. I don't think we're there yet, man. It is still really up in the air in terms of who could end up making it out of, particularly the European Minor League. So again, we're still in SPL Phase 2, but that second one, the place week, that's where you really want to look. That's November 3rd through the 8th. Only the top 2 teams from each region in the Minor League are going to make it into that placement stages. And then even from that big old placement stage with all the SPL and Minor League and console teams in it, only 2 teams qualify out to the World Championship November 15th through the 17th. And speaking of that, if you hadn't, I would go to High Res Expo and buy my tickets, but we'll talk about all that a little bit later. Here in this set in particular, Flashpoint should come in and win this set here up against Exordium. That's what the standings tell me. Yep. That's what the players tell me. But I don't know, man. Flashpoint sometimes seem to not be able to close out these games the way they're supposed to.
I mean, look, if you're the 2nd seed right now, which Flashpoint is, and you're going up against the bottom seed, which Exordium is, especially a winless Exordium team, this is a must-win for Flashpoint, and it's got to be a 2-0. I mean, you have to get that game plus-minus improved. You know it might come down to that at the end of the day. Exordium gave Out Cold Gaming a little bit of trouble last week, sent them to a 40-minute game 2.
Exactly right.
Flashpoint has got to be ready for them, man. This is the type of game where you could overlook your opponents and cause yourself a lot of problems.
And Flashpoint did drop a set recently as well, which is why they're not quite up. That's why it's a little bit tighter up there than the top than what you might have expected. I mean, it is so close right now. Horizon Union are on the upswing. Queso had been playing better as well. So this is an absolute must-win for Flashpoint. As you said, must-win in a 2-0 fashion. And I was taking a look back at that game, as we start to get ready, for the picks and bans here for this first set, and to see if there were some tendencies that I noticed, or for Exordium, or maybe if there was anything they were doing that was particularly strong that maybe could catch Flashpoint off guard. And in that game too, they were able to get up to a really, really hot start. They like aggressive picks for Alka in the support role as well. They really prioritized Thoth for Angry. And maybe those are some of the same things that we'll see from here today that Flashpoint need to be ready for.
And I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, Flashpoint's strength historically has been late game team fights, usually centered around Johnny on a hyper carry assassin towards the later stages of the game. If you can take him out of it early, you can do those invade strategies. I mean, so many teams are going with those speed buff invades now, and the way that you kind of shift the jungler around the map.
Right.
How well is Flashpoint prepared for that? That's exactly what I would be trying to do if I'm Exordium. I'll send 3 at Johnny's speed. I'll just set him behind, because that's Flashpoint's best key to victory most times.
Well, Exordium are going to be the first pick here this time, so we'll see what it is they feel like trying to take away. Another thing that I noticed that, at least in that last set, was they banned Chernobog away from Exordium in both games. I think it's because Itori really likes to play Hunters in the middle lane if he can, particularly Churn. I'm wondering if maybe it's worth trying to get that pick from a little bit sooner, if it is something that's always going to get targeted away. We'll see how it ends up developing here in these bans.
Sure, it's certainly an option. I mean, Chernobog is a god that you can top 3 and feel pretty good about it. I mean, it's versatile. You can put it in the long lane, you can put it in mid, and it's just good. I don't know. We see this a lot with regions where one player likes a pick that's a little bit off the wall, and then everyone starts playing it because it looks really good. And Death Panther, I think, really deserves a lot of credit for popularizing Chernobog in the EU SML. He dominated with it for a lot of Phase 1 and Phase 2, so it's no surprise that other players are picking it up.
Chernobog's good, but you also got to remember Death Panther's real good too, so sometimes he just makes stuff look good. Thor, Ao Kuang, and Khepri banned away. The Thor and Khepri, those are totally meta bans right now. You don't want to deal with those. The Ao Kuang ban is a Johnny ban, I think the right one. And man, exactly like we were expecting, the Serqet pickup, and that's got Alka's name written all over it for me. Yep. He played the Horus and the Serqet last week. He loves these aggressive supports.
I think it's a perfect pick. It lets you put pressure on the map. Your mid 3v3 fight gets a whole lot stronger. Your push isn't great because Serqet doesn't clear waves particularly well. That's not what you're picking her for. You're picking her for that CC chain opportunity, for the option for her to 1v1 the enemy jungler in the early game. I love the Serqet pick for Exordium.
Now, they did first pick Thoth both games. So there you go. So Thoth comes in here almost immediately. I'm a bit surprised they were willing to take the Serqet over that Thoth. It was something that Angry played in both of those games. But they come right back to it when it makes it through those bans for Flashpoint. The Jormungandr Chronos, certainly strong, so I don't have a problem with those 2 picks for Flashpoint. But I think they could have probably foresaw that Thoth would be a priority.
Maybe we see him take a pick that punishes it pretty well, but I love Exordium taking one of those in the form of Susano. Susano has a great matchup against Thoth. Really, it's impossible for Thoth to get away from the Susano. So Exordium pick up a strong jungler for their own right and take something out of Johnny's hands. Maybe even something out of the hands of Flashpoint's Hunter, because we've seen a lot of Susano long lane as of late and can give you a bad matchup over there. So you never know where that Susano pick's going. You just know that it's probably going to be pretty popular.
I do like this, though, for Johnny, man. If he can't get that Ao Kuang, then he will just pick a hyper carry in the jungle, and Kali very often is that next go-to for him. The only thing that I might be concerned with is that Exordium, like I said, do like to play towards that early game, and Kali sometimes can feel lackluster there. Yep. It's going to be a lot of reliance on the rest of Flashpoint to kind of carry them through those first 15 minutes.
Could also be a pick for Kespainify. We've seen that in the long lane for Flashpoint before, as kind of the last-minute juke on where that Kali's going to go. Might want to match up that Kali against those long lane assassins sometimes, or those long lane mages. Could be an option in an Artio pick that we don't see a whole lot of, but Cripple, great against Serqet, Thoth, and Susano. I like it. Fusify going into the God Pool.
No Chernobog ban here, but it is still the Ho Yi. This is where Itori often went when the Chernobog was taken away, but perhaps he didn't even really want. If the Ho Yi is available, he was happy to take that one. Certainly a strong member for your team. Does give you some AoE control that you might be missing. I know Thoth's Final Judgment's good, but it doesn't quite do that same job.
No, it doesn't, and you need a lot of setup sometimes, and in Ho Yi's stun a little bit more reliable than the Chernobog route, which takes a lot longer to go off. It's like Kukulkan locked in for the mid lane. We haven't seen a Cuckoo in a long time. And I don't really know why we see it here in particular. I mean, it's safe.
Not a ton of setup, right?
It's good against the Ho Yi because of the slow immunity on Slither, so the Sunbreaker ultimate doesn't do as much to you. That's a really narrow application. I'm surprised we see it at all.
I am a bit surprised as well, but it can be pretty strong around the objectives. Let's see how the Snake does as we hand it down to Hindu and Anatoly.
Thanks so much, Finch and Aggro on the desk. Yes, it is me and Anatoly on the cast, with Doug LeBlanc on the spectator camera. And early on in this one, we're going to see Alka playing this Serqet for himself, looking to try and pressure Johnny's speed buff. But he is a bit surrounded here.
Yeah, I think that we're going to see a lot of aggression from Exordium in general. This is a late game composition from Flashpoint with the Kali, also with the Chronos from Kespainify. So I like the idea, but Alka surprisingly not fully committing to that invade, which is surprising, knowing that Johnny needs their speed buff for that early momentum. You shut down a Kali, you shut down the late game.
Definitely wave clear advantages in the mid lane for this Kukulkan. In the first level of 2, a little bit lackluster. It takes till around level 3 for your second point into your tornado, and then you'll be able to pretty much clear the wave in full and not have to worry too much about it. But the red buffs should be secured, so no real invades happening at the moment. You mentioned this, the composition from Flashpoint, very late game focused. How about Exordium?
It's mostly early game focused, but there is some late game tools as well. Cozy on the Amaterasu has the mobility. Angry on the Thoth has plenty of burst damage. I'm just a little worried for Angry with the composition from Flashpoint, because if Johnny's able to penetrate that backline alongside Sibi, well, that thought the right side, Johnny.
Oh, he walks into more danger. Fusify was around the corner. The storm will hit and the curse as well, funny enough. But FaraKrik didn't have any abilities up, and Johnny just used everything. Now it's Fusify overextended, under pressure, jumping towards the end there by Itori, but it's not going to be enough for a kill at all. That's forcing Froisan to blink in and look for the pickup kill. Should be able to bring him down for first blood. Crazy engagement in the middle area.
Aggression meets aggression. FaraKrik unfortunately missed a Zephyr there to apply the secondary slow onto Froisan. I like the idea of using that creeping curse, or sorry, the horrific emblem. It's been such a long time since we saw creeping curse. But Fusify...
I did shout curse though, that's what I did. I set you up for that. Yeah.
It kind of set up the Zephyr, but still a little FaraKrik off the mark. So an early first blood goes to Froisan. Now he needs to use that momentum to really start gaining levels over Johnny before this Kali becomes an issue.
Yeah, we'll see what can happen with that then. Pressure in the mid lane then for Alka at the moment. Switching to the dual lane momentarily. Get a little look at Angry up against Kespainify in this dual lane. Angry DQ keeping around the league for quite a few years now. I've seen him in and out of competition consistently. One of the 2 Romanians on this team as well.
Surprising to see him be this aggressive early on instead of clearing the wave. Like, his mana pool is so low now. Yeah, he poked out Kespainify, but he only did about 20% of his health. At this phase, whether it's solo lane or the long lane, you're better off just clearing the wave. Now Kespainify is going to outclear you and maybe look for some invades or even some neutral camps like the Oracles.
Yeah, the Oracles are everything really up at the moment. Red buff is spawning soon, but Kespainify going to use the opportunity to take a trip back to base and start working on those boots. Going to allow him, I guess, the extra mobility to stay pushed up and not worry too much more. Alka, though, in the jungle was looking at the red buff, but now Itori might be able to pinch Fusify again. But Fusify going to take the safer option, and there was no pressure really coming from Itori there. As the farming continues, FaraKrik in the mid lane looks like he's going to be going for the good old Book of Thoth, which is so very standard.
Oh yeah,
a Kukulkan.
Absolutely a standard there. Once you fully evolve that item, you're getting 9% of your item mana pool into your magical power. To synergize with the 5% magical power gain from your mana as Kukulkan, that's 14% total. So once Book of Thoth is fully evolved, that 1,000 mana translates to 140 power.
Impressive. Not only that, the only problem with Kukulkan at the moment is the state of the itemization for mid lane mages. A lot of the items that Kukulkan wants to build into, which is mainly mana based with that extra power spikes, they don't always play off at the moment in the meta with the items we see. Alka in mid lane, they're under a lot of pressure because of this cripple. He needs to escape it as quick as possible with the stun after the fact that Fusify was good. FaraKrik just didn't have the tornado up in time to confirm the extra damage.
And not only that, he missed the Zephyr yet again. That's 2 crucial misses from FaraKrik. That was dropped kills. Alka barely walking away after great setup from Fusify. By the way, shoutouts to Fusify playing this aggressive despite being first blooded. A lot of players, once they give up that first blood, will kind of go hide in their little turtle shells like, okay, I can't give up a second death. But honestly, as a support player, you still got to be looking for these kinds of aggressive plays.
As an Artio too, with that cripple, it's going to be so important. Multiple gods on this team that Exordium have here are going to get really hurt by that cripple field that Artio can bring to the battlefield, so he's going to have to frontline.
I like how Froisan gave up those left mid camps to get the Oracles. 1 minute vision now, so Angry can still safely farm on the left side. Doesn't have to worry about this Blink Kali for a little bit longer.
Might be able to find Kespainify here. It's going to get a rewind off early, and that'll avoid the ultimate out from Angry too. Knock up after the 5 mil from Poison. will be enough for a kill. Good gank over there in the dual lane from Exordium.
Oh yeah, this mage versus mage battle needs to see some jungle pressure, and for Johnny, I understand why he's not making these rotations. He's not level 5 yet. He back to finish off the Ninja Tabai, and with Froisan finishing off the Oracles, it was more prevalent for him to make that rotation as opposed to Johnny.
And this is the state of the game, though. If you've got a Kali that's mainly focused on farming in the early game, she just wants to get the levels online, get some of those core items in that build available to her, and then she'll look for the pressure in the ganks when they become available. Susano, meanwhile, you're looking for those level 4-5 ganks to try and continue to pressure in the early stages.
That's the difference, mainly, is that Susano is a jack of all trades at every given level. Yeah. Kali kind of comes online late, but you could also use that to your advantage to a point where you can do a little mix-up. You can still gank, right? Even though your gank is not as effective as the Susano, if the opponents are playing that aggressive, you could use that to your advantage.
Definitely. I mean, the biggest thing that Kali really brings is the stun that she's got, but that stun is actually a pen shred or a pen buff as well that can really make an influence, but you need to have more points in that to get the full effect.
That's right. Kali gaining physical power once you apply the stun, so her burst damage from the lash increases, her basic attacks increases, and the setup to maybe allow Kespainify opportunity to time stop, time rip is where the counter gank becomes more impactful than the actual initial gank, because once Angry gets ganked, he's just going to evade and punish back into the safety of his tower, especially doubling the range through the wall.
We'll say as well, Angry played that fight pretty well with the final judgment there in that team fight. Didn't overplay his hand too much, allowed Froisan to get in there without giving the game away too much. Now though, it looks like it's Alka's turn to try and pressure Kespainify. Needs an ultimate available for him. We'll need both of those to try and escape this gank. Rewind is good, but now he's in an awkward spot. Final judgment does hit. Angry gets stunned because of it, and that might just be enough to survive.
One more.
Unless Angry can thread the needle and does just that. Fusify and Johnny, though, on the rotation, trying to punish this. Unfortunately, going to be a little bit too late to the party. Instead, he's going to have to soak up some of those minions under the tier 1 tower.
This is the point where Kespainify needs some serious defensive wards. Normally, it's offensive wards to see if they're coming from the purple buff, but when you're getting flanked from your own purple side, that becomes an issue. I need to see Flashpoint adapt to these rotations.
This is good from Exordium. Now you even see on the right side, Froisan just invading the buffs where he can there. Takes the Harpies and now looking towards speed.
He might get it.
Because we saw Johnny go to the left-hand side to support, but I guess he's a little bit worried. With Froisan rotating around the back here, I think that's because he got a call about Kali being
He's
there.
going to gank again on this long lane. This is just unrelenting pressure onto Kespainify. Or maybe he's setting up for the red buff. He had the timer for the red buff, so he gets the guaranteed play. But the cripple, not enough to really play aggressive, seeing how it was a 2-on-1. Fusify not wanting to be too close to the Serqet-Susano combination.
Yeah, I do think if Froisan goes back there to that fight that we just saw, I think he realized he could have taken the speed buff quite comfortably there and still done that rotation too. It's a bit of a drop farm situation. Funny enough, Johnny actually didn't even go with his speed at first because he thought he was down.
Well, I think that he just assumed, it was not going to be up, so he's like, let me get my guaranteed farm at the back camp. So then all of a sudden, he casually gives up the speed buff. I think he knew that the Kali was rotating, so he wanted to get the guaranteed play. I thought it was going to be another gank onto Kespainify, but with Chronos being down already 0-2, sometimes there's such a thing as too much pressure.
Alka kind of got himself in an awkward spot. Will get ulted as well, and his health bar is dropping lower. Johnny's there for clean-up crew, but Itori, though, took out FaraKrik at the tail end at the start of that fight, I should say. Now Froisan and Johnny boxing in the jungle, only ultimate available for Johnny here. Well, the damage is done. FaraKrik down for a support isn't the best case scenario for Flashpoint.
Definitely not, but it's a start as Sibi is still lingering around the corner with Johnny to pick off Froisan. No bees for Froisan as he elected for the blink at level 1, and this is how Flashpoint can start to get back into the game, really start focusing out Froisan.
This pressure, though, that Exordium now have in the duel, and all really created by the consistent ganks coming out from them, and Angry's now getting the benefits of that. Got a level lead, got some pressure in this lane, and that's where you don't want to be as the Chronos, just being consistently poked from a safe distance with how much you can do about it. You need some rotations, but we said this composition not really designed for those rotations at the moment.
Not quite yet, at the very least. Maybe later on we can see some rotations, especially if Angry's going to sit under that tier 1 tower. That's kind of the trap that side laners will casually fall into.
You talk about traps, there's one on FaraKrik. He just came back from base. He will get his ultimate off, though. They did a good job of self-healing there. Biggest thing about the ultimate from Kukulkan that a lot of people don't realize, it spawns just behind your character.
Oh, yeah.
So you can hit people behind you with the knock-up. And I think that's one of the reasons, the only reason I can really see her picking a Kukulkan is to deal with the all-infamous Serqet, because she's going to want to jump on you and lose all her abilities in melee. Well, that ultimate will hit someone as soon as they dismount you off the back from using the ult.
Not only the Serqet, but also Froisan. He
Yeah.
relies on using some combos. He needs to do the jet stream, teleport basic attack, and then start cancel chaining between the Storm Kata, and you drop all of a sudden the Spirit of the Nine Winds, and there goes any sort of early start from Alka or Froisan. So good ultimate just to survive. FaraKrik now stacking up this Book of Thoth. Needs quite a lot more, though, to complete it and get that 9% total mana pool conversion.
Interesting to see we go through the Shoes of Focus here as well. Short cooldown reduction, and it's got a nice mana pool with Shoes of Focus. But you do like penetration by going this route.
Yeah.
And I think as the game goes on, I'm interested where he goes with his pen options. Sure, it'll be Spear of the Magus is a standard item, but these days it's not seen as often either. So
No, it's definitely not.
I'm
but
excited to see where he goes.
I think that it's a worthwhile item, honestly. I call it the blue build, FaraKrik's build, where
It's all
you go
blue,
Book
yeah.
of Thoth, you go for Shoes of Focus.
Book of the Dead now.
That's true, too. You do get a little bit of mana there as well. Alka, though, in a 1v3.
Gonna have a very hard time as he's stunned in place. The Stone of Binding is in there as well. Take that into account. That's really making a benefit. Johnny's getting very low, but will come towards the safety. Fusify is out for now, but Angry will give chase. And he's quite upset about the situation. Finds a kill, but Kespainify trying to punish. A lot of low health bars on the side of Exordium here as the rewinds through Kespainify, but the rewind positioning did not do him benefit.
Ooh,
Sibi now will take-
Johnny was thinking about blinking back in there, honestly, but without the ultimate from Kali, too risky in my opinion. You can't give up a death there. So yet again, Exordium getting the better end of these trades in that 2-for-1.
Yeah, at the same time, you saw Kespainify try and make that rotation, but couldn't make anything happen, unfortunately. So those two kills going down. The best thing about Chronos still being around, though, is that Goal Fury wasn't attemptable by Exordium after that fight.
Definitely could be a case sooner rather than later, seeing how Angry is almost level 13. 3 points of that final judgment is really huge. Itori could line up here a Ricochet if Johnny's not careful, so he's going to go all the way back and sustain off his own speed buff.
Did mention again, Fusify with the Stone of Binding. I love this pickup against this composition. Just because the CC that he's going to be applying is going to really shred some of these protections that the tankier targets may have in the early game. So it weakens their survivability, especially the assassin supports. They really just help out.
Yeah, it's very easy to apply that as well. Angry.
You won't.
Ooh, I like the attempt though, because Kespainify reading it very well, just juking that one out. And the Stone of Binding to be procced off of Fusify. There's so many applications of it. The slow from the channeled Druid form ability into the actual route, into the cripple, into the stun. Those are 4 different ways of applying that one passive item aura.
And Stone of Binding as well is so good on a lot of the supports. Kukulkan, another good one that is useful on. If they've got a lot of CC, pick this up if you can in your build somewhere. It can, though, in this situation, delay you getting some other items online, like your Gauntlet of Thieves, which means you're not stacking as quickly, but it does give a big buff in the early game. And some decent protections, too.
Well, if you're lacking that early game from your jungler, you can make up for that with this item. That 15 penetration will allow Johnny some more momentum on his basic attack chain, going for a lot of attack speed between the Crusher and the Ninja Tab item.
It's funny, it's a well-crafted comp when you think about it from Flashpoint, because we were just talking about how Kukulkan is lacking pen right now with the build by going Shoes of Focus. But then he's getting some if he's teams up with Fusify. Works out nicely. Bit of pressure on these right-hand harpies again. Fusify a little bit far forward is in the jungle. Alka was getting pressure there. Sibi's now made the rotation. Looks towards Froisan in the jungle, but his mobility will keep him safe. Meanwhile, Johnny's got a bit of a alone time with Cozy. Not too worried about this. It's an Amaterasu after all with a level lead, and the ultimate still available.
No physical defense yet, though, from Kazi, so you have to be worried if you're up against this Kali, even if you are 3 levels ahead. So you got to give respect to this Kali. This is where she's going to get stronger and stronger. Working now on what I believe is going to be a stone-cutting sword for Johnny to just eliminate some protections, gain some for himself.
Interesting enough, just saw Cozy for the first time because normally Solo Lane's quite quiet in the early game. Didn't go teleport at all this game. He started off with Blink, which is a very interesting relic to choose as an Amaterasu at the start of the game. But now gone into the Frenzy in his second relic, so he's going to have a lot of teamfight options, I feel, here.
So the reason why he went for this kind of route is knowing that the Kali's not going to gank the Soul Lane anytime soon. Although it's possible, but it's unlikely. The chances of it is very low. You don't want to give up farm, especially if it's not ever guaranteed kills. Kazi has a lot of defensive escape measures between the dazzling offensive and the dash. Sibi can't really set up Johnny for the kills. Johnny has to set up Sibi. So this is why we're not seeing the teleport
Alka on this left-hand side here, going to be around the purple buff area. He's going to draw Dzoni in because I don't think they recognize Alka's here just yet. Dzoni going to walk in the pit, look towards Alka. Alka gives him a quick kiss and leaps away. Pressure relieved, and a good invade working out there for Exordium to continue extending their lead a little bit more.
Very methodical was that invade, but honestly, Exordium, with this 15 minutes status into the game, you would think that they would have a bigger lead and they would at least attempt some sort of objectives, but they're not going to be allowed that from Flashpoint with such a seasoned veteran team. They gave up the early lead, but they are playing around their composition once they get to the late game, once they get the stacks from FaraKrik's Book of Thoth. The Hasten Katana now completed from Dzoni as opposed to the Stone Cutting, so he's going to be just chaining and chasing everybody that's out of position.
Definitely, the level of discrepancy isn't that big between these two. Neither is the gold. The gold lead is pretty solid for what they've done so far, but the experience difference isn't really there. It just shows now for a second with Angry just hitting 16, but Kespainify will hit 15 off this wave, I'm certain. Oracle's about to spawn. Gold Fury is available. Multiple members of Exordium starting to group up. Red buff spawning too, and here we go.
Once you see Kazi here, that means it's go time for Exordium. Without teleport, he is committed to being on the left side of the map.
Jumps in towards Dzoni. Big up from FaraKrik towards Alka, who's trying to escape now. Cozy getting a lot of the damage from the tornado, but Dzoni's still alive. And Froisan went with the ultimate, but couldn't find the tail end of Dzoni. Fusify, though, gets taken out by Cozy. And I'm pretty sure the final judgment was on the Mark II if it was required. And now Sibi using the World Serpent gets some good pressure off there and damage onto Froisan. But all the while, Exordium are recommitting to the Gold Fury.
All the ultimates are used. Exordium does confirm it, but can they escape? Dzoni won't let it be easy.
Great stun and great pick of one kill. Now Angry Day forced to use the Aegis to try and buy time. Cozy's silence prevents Dzoni from leaping away to safety. And now it's Angry being turned up by Kespainify. Rewind, no, not today. And FaraKrik does get a tornado off on one. Sibi cleans up with the hot breath on another. Crazy fight over here.
A 2 for 3 as Fusify has responded. Tori needs to confirm this red buff. It goes the way of Flashpoint, stripping that away. They could even fall if Sibi wanted to chase that down. I'm surprised actually that Exordium even got that Gold Fury to begin with, seeing how Final Judgment was expended to kill the support. That was an even trade at first, just the ultimate alone, seeing how Flashpoint had some steal potential. But these are the risks Exordium need to take against such a team like Flashpoint just to get a win.
You saw the graphs on your screen there for a second. Notice the dip straight after the up from the Gold Fury. The fight after that just kind of petered out some of that lead a little bit.
And the thing about Flashpoint, they could have been positioned a little bit better, honestly. Once they see Cozy making his way towards the left side of the map, that's basically Exordium revealing their hand, saying, like, we're not interested in the soul lane any longer. Without a teleport from Cozy, that means he's conceding the wave. He might even concede the tier 1 tower just to start getting Gold Furies.
Alka coming in mid lane, gonna kiss Dzoni, but straight after that gets stunned in place by Fusify. So pressure relief momentarily. I am noticing a lot from FaraKrik though. Whenever you see Alka ult, he's immediately using his ult, whoever it's on, to try and nuke down this support. But the support's a little bit tankier now, which makes it a little bit tricky to try and use that ultimate for a burst option.
Especially with the Relic Dagger for the health, the Gauntlet of Thebes now for the protection aura, but the timing window of the Spirit of the Nine Winds matches the cast animation time of the Last Breath.
That makes sense. And I also, you actually notice with the fact that they do have a Thoth on one side going Kukulkan, they both have these big mage ultimates that can secure buffs. So I think we'll see a little bit of this set. Maybe they'll play around those a little bit more around the Gold Furies and the Fire Giants. Because if one gets used and the other one's still up, that team's got an advantage there.
We were kind of questioning what penetration options FaraKrik was going to go for. It is going to be the Divine Ruin, getting some anti-healing, some penetration. And against Kazi, he's going to have a lot of sustain on this Amaterasu now that he's level 17. A little bit of CDR, not as much as we would think at this point in the game, but still enough that you would want to get some anti-healing for him.
Yeah, Divine Ruin, funny enough, like I always underestimate how much penetration this has got. 15 pence?
Yeah, 15 pence, not bad.
And the power's solid on it too, as well as obviously the passive effect of the 40% anti-heal for 8 seconds. And when you take into account that's 8 seconds after any damage is finished. And one thing about Kukulkan, his damage lasts a little while with those tornadoes.
It definitely does, as we were thinking it might have been Spear of Magus, so without Spear of Magus being completed now. I'm assuming it's going to be a rush towards Obsidian Shard.
A little bit surprised by not going Spare the Magus, though, just for the simple fact that it would amplify Kespainify's damage and Fusify's and Sibi's a little bit more.
That's true.
So having a Spare Magus on this comp would be useful.
For Magical, speaking of, that not only do you want to see Spirit Magus for FaraKrik, you might want to see a Void Stone, even from Sibi, but he finishes off Gem of Isolation first for the utility, and now working on the Void Stone.
Saw Cozy just use the ult on FaraKrik there, trying to pressure him back towards his tier 2 tower. He will step up to try and defend the tier 1, but it won't be in time. Itori and Froisan there, and we're angry rotating round. Exordium is starting to push their lead here, it feels. Rotating 5 members over towards the Pyromancer now. Flashpoint need to respond.
This is how Exordium is going to start winning the game. Once they group up as 5 and start creating this death ball, forcing Flashpoint to react to this death ball. And currently level 15 on the Kali. This is the point where Kali could start fighting, now working on the chin size for extra attack speed, a little bit of that percent health as damage onto Kazi. Not a bad thing either. So Flashpoint, like you mentioned, needs to react, but they don't have the vision control to really gain positioning. They're getting bullied between their tier 1, tier 2 tower. Nice play from Kazi, and that was a free tower and Pyromancer for Exordium.
I know you mentioned the death ball that Exordium have here. I'm just a little bit worried for the self-peel. I mean, that's all they're really going to have. It's mobility on the squad. There's no protection from the rest of your team here, really, from what I can tell. Cozy's the only one that can maybe do that in terms of peel, but everybody else is kind of a fight for your own life, it feels like here, or nuke them until they're dead. Kespainify going to meet Alka on the left-hand side. Angry's here too, but he just, watched each other for a second. I think it was Angry wanting to face them with no marker.
I agree with you that Exordium needs to figure out self-peeling options. Thoth's stash is very wide. Itori can just drop the Suns on top of himself and juke to his heart's content. I think Kazi can use that mobility aura to kind of hold whoever needs the peeling's hand and just stroll with each other through the jungle. But I'm expecting Exordium to still group up as 5, force out this Fury that's less than 30 seconds, and Flashpoint cannot give up this second Fury if they want to still stay relevant in the game.
Something sniffing like a Johnny game, though, with this Kali. That's my biggest concern. I mean, if you get a Kali on you and stunning you in place with these characters, you're not going to last very long. And like I said, your team's not really going to have much peel to get you away from that danger, especially when there's going to be this Artio crippling them in place, or even you and trying to engage.
It's funny how we're seeing this Kali being 3-1-2 currently, but it's Johnny that we're talking about. Yeah. He's going to be where the action is at. He's a part of 100% of his team's kills, and at this point, with chin size finished, he's going to be an absolute monster.
Primal Fury spawned and immediately unleashed by Exordium. Reset happens for a moment or two. Tornado's taken away, and Fusify just keeps resetting it over and over. So Fury out of play for now. Alka was trying to give kisses towards Johnny, but Johnny wasn't accepting them right now. Johnny did actually throw out the stun of that late. Alka jump on in there, so Johnny will jump back to safety for now. Sibi gonna hover around, however, looking for a bit of a lurking damage. Fury pulled again and reset again.
Looking for the route onto Alka. This is where the pools from Sibi with the Gem of Isolation is going to make it hard for Exordium to dance around the pit, but they're not fully committing. They want to bait Flashpoint into a corridor where I think the damage from Angry is really going to shine with that final judgment, but he's not really baiting it out with a channel. If you don't hear the Thoth channeling that ability, there's no reason for Flashpoint to really truly commit and contest this objective.
Funny enough, the 2 ultimates from these mages, big time ultimates, but big time animation and sound cues, so keep your ears out for those. World Serpent used very early by Sibi here. This is a commit to try and get to somebody, and it's Johnny taking on Alka in the jungle. A lot of damage onto Froisan there. He did get his ultimate off in time, but it wasn't good enough. Johnny will leave out of the danger zone as Angry secures Sibi solo for the support jungler so far.
Great rewind from Kespainify, but an aggressive dash out of Angry. Now Spirit of the 9 Winds gonna roll through, only connects onto Kazi.
Kazi was perfectly fine there. Fusify falls back using the tornado for cover. Johnny gets to the backline on Angry. That'll force out the beads, but now he's under pressure himself. No ultimate for Johnny. Jumps in, gets a heal because of that to the low health Angry, and Angry's still alive because Kespainify will get credit for the kill. Meanwhile, Johnny is chopping Cozy down.
He's gonna chase this down. Look at Itori though in the background, killing out Fusify. Gonna chase out Kespainify as well. No rewind, no Aegis, no light.
Good blink from Alka there at the end there just to secure that kill for Itori. Johnny there wants to try and punish them for this. But Cozy's got eyes on, and now Johnny could be in an awkward position. Low on mana, turns round. Half health now, well below half health. Let's just see where Alka paths. There's no tier 1 tower here either. Johnny might be worthwhile going for the... I was going to say, he might be worth just trying to kill himself at the tier 1. But I don't think Exordium were going to let that happen anyway.
The only turnaround play was if that stun missed, and then after the dive bomb was committed, to see Johnny turn that one around.
confident play from Itori to do that, in all fairness. Oh, hang on, 1 second. Ultimate was available for
Really?
FaraKrik, and he went for the fight instead of the Fury.
Yeah, I'm
Very
surprised.
suspect.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised about that too, Hindu man. I think that you want to use that big mage ultimate onto the objective, especially when Angry's already dead, so you don't have to fight fire with fire and worry about that final judgment. But to be fair, Exordium can easily reset that objective as long as they hover it towards the edge of the circle. There's such a long cast time of the Spirit of Nine Winds from where FaraKrik is to go all the way down that Gold Fury lane. You have plenty of time to react to it, reset the objective, avoid the damage on top, and then go for round 2.
There is a chance you can actually cast the ultimate outside of sound cue range, you know. At max distance, it's very difficult to hear it. So you technically could get the Fury, but he had teammates around too.
Yeah.
It was a very awkward situation.
Alka was just way too deep zoning, so I like that play from this Serqet support, being really a big nuisance for Flashpoint to get any footing behind themselves. They just keep on tripping on themselves, it feels, more than Exordium forcing the issue.
Really looking excited about Exordium's play here today so far against Flashpoint. Sibi under a lot of pressure. Great ultimate from Angry actually just to deny Sibi escaping. Now Johnny traps in a world of hurt but gets a 3-man stun off. His ultimate is about to wear off and Alka will get credit for the kill. Poison was continuing to stick. Angry Day hits a big stun and jukes out the ultimate from FaraKrik again. As Alka gets a double kiss on, that's Cozy with that blink that comes into play.
And that's 4 dead. Make that 5. FaraKrik aegising for a moment, but Exordium are on pace to win game 1 here, Hindu.
Can they end off this? They've
No,
got no minions yet. And the way you did that, I was like, there's no way they're going to end right
No,
this
I just see the momentum now with Fire Giant, with the tier 2 towers being stripped away. This late game from Flashpoint hasn't gotten online. FaraKrik's accuracy is left more to be desired. I think Johnny hasn't gotten the momentum that he really wanted to this game, and Exordium are really running away with this. They have a clear-cut game plan now in these mid-game teamfights where last 2 teamfights they focused out Sibi, they take him out of the equation. Now, without the World Serpent dive potential, we were kind of worrying about Itori or Angry being under pressure. Without that Jormungandr, there is no backline penetration pressure that Exordium worry about.
Yeah, it's been a bit of an awkward situation. It really does come down to FaraKrik. This Kukulkan hasn't lived up to expectations we were hoping for with this performance here. As a whole, he's a fantastic player, but this game specifically, he's having a rough time with it.
And I'm not loving his build either. Polynomicon before Obsidian Shard just doesn't make too much sense to me personally. Honestly, you're not squeezing those basic attacks in to the point where it would be more efficient to have a lack of penetration for that extra power. Like, if you're sieging towers, sure, Polynomicon would help you siege those towers, but at this point, you need every little bit of damage, because once you drop the Tornado, you can't afford to basic attack. You're going to slow your movement speed, you're going to allow Alka and Kazi to get closer to you.
Now with the pressure with the Fire Giant on Exordium, Froisan doesn't have it on the Susano. He's going to head into the jungle, keep Fusify busy. The rest of Exordium going to take down this tier 2 tower. Just interested if they're going to go straight for the Phoenix or rotate. Looks like a rotation is going to call towards this mid lane area.
Looking like a tier 2 tower on the mid lane after getting the left side. Alka still being a little annoying, trying to get any beats that he can. Maybe some Mad Guy's Cloak on top of it. Just going to clear out the wave.
Get some free abilities too. If you can just get them to use some abilities before the fight, they might be on cooldown by the time they get to the tier 2 tower. I think Alka's had a very good game on the Serqet so far. He's been very troublesome for Flashpoint, and they've put a lot of focus on him. Yeah, he's absorbed it pretty well.
It's not going to be super easy for Exordium to siege these towers, knowing how FaraKrik will drop the Tornado. Kazi will have to tank the tower as Sibi goes in.
Alka then wrapping around the back at the same time. Will tipping up and down. Cozy still tanking it up, allowing Alka to get to the backline, look towards Johnny. But a lot of pressure onto Alka there as he overcommitted under that tier 2 tower. Heavily punished. That's a Fire Giant wasted there for Exordium, as now they're going to have to fall back in a 4v5 scenario.
You have to play perfect against Flashpoint. They created so much space by clearing the wave, and there was a clear disconnect between Exordium's front line and back line. Sibi dove the back line with the World Serpent. You can tell Kazi was like, well, I have to stay back. So Froisan and Alka too deep. They couldn't be rescued that time around.
Keep an eye on Johnny, and there's a frenzy from Cozy as he blinks in after using it with the ultimate too. Look for the back line.
Sibi.
Pressure on Kespainify, but Fusify isolated on the left-hand side. Itori gets credit for the kill. Johnny in, though, looking towards Itori, who pre-beads, but the reset comes through for Johnny. He shuts down Itori as the rest of Flashpoint push for a tier 1 tower.
Exordium tried to go for that 3-for-3 strategy by killing out Sibi, but the final judgment was off the mark after a great setup from Kazi with the Blink Dazzling offensive. He not only stuns Sibi trying to set up his Thoth player, but he also stuns out Kespainify, forcing a very early bead. But Tier 1 tower does go down, and it's Flashpoint the one that gets the better end of it, despite Exordium having the Fire Giant.
You mentioned, the siege and situation Exordium are going to run into. I think the biggest issue really is the Kukulkan. His wave clear is so fantastic, and zone control is one of the things he does. Very similar to a Poseidon in a lot of ways with that zone control, the Whirlpool, the Tornado, the same sort of thing. But it clears the minions so effectively and quickly from distance that it's hard for you to have the siege. And if you think about the siege, we saw Cozy do it with the blink. Oni Fury does go down. Good work from Exordium there, using the final judgment. But Sibi just got a nice chunk of damage out in that engagement. Won't continue the chase with the third part of the ultimate. Instead, he'll fall back to join his team. This is still relatively balanced here as we've approached 30 minutes.
I agree.
As we mentioned, this is a late game team, Flashpoint and drafting.
It really is, and despite the gold deficit, I'm still having no qualms about Flashpoint's chances of winning this game with a comeback potential, especially if Exordium continued to siege like that. That was very sloppy. That 2-3 split was unsuccessful. Alka has been aggressive, but that time it was to a fault. They needed to reset.
Wow, look at all those wards Flashpoint have placed around this Fire Giant area. They've really set up for it. Fusify getting aggressive by Froisan, but they didn't know Johnny was around the corner, and Johnny's going to get a lot of chop damage underway. However, loses a lot of health as Alka and Cozy annihilate him. Angry into the fight, and now it's just chunking through the entire team. And FaraKrik celebration or commiseration ultimate there towards the tail end. They didn't find a target, and now Exordium, 5 members are able to push for this tier 2.
Flashpoint were the ones setting up the trap,
They were.
but it was Flashpoint that got trapped because they thought that they had the numbers. Exordium rolling like a true death ball. All 5 members healthy now, getting this tier 2 tower without the Fire Giant. Should honestly commit to this Phoenix. 20 seconds on all members.
I will say, I'm thinking would have liked FaraKrik back to base a little bit earlier just to start set up these tornadoes. But the Phoenix is already at half health. No minions involved in this, by the way. The extra wall damage coming through from the top to allow Itori to increase his basic attacks does help some fall there. But Phoenix now down. It makes it a lot easier against a Kukulkan finally. It's always the worry of the Phoenix line against a Kukulkan. How are you going to break the base? Well, you win a fight out in the open like that, and then you've got a big win.
And honestly, Johnny had potential of making that fight in their favor if he uses beads earlier, if he uses the ultimate to look for the target reset. I like the idea that Flashpoint had, but mechanically, there's been some moments this whole game, not just that last team fight, that they've been slipping, whether it's Johnny on the Kali, that last one, or FaraKrik missing constant Zephyrs.
Flashpoint's been one of the most, as a team, they've been the most consistent team I've seen in the minor league for multiple years at this point. But now and again, they do have off days, and this game 1 is not the standard I'm used to from these guys.
I agree.
Whether they're just off the mark a little bit, they're just waking up, who knows? It's a bit of a tricky one to call, but I hope it doesn't continue, that's for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you there. They're tied for second place there with also Queso being at 5-2. Queso is at 4-3 rather. But this week 5 matchup between Flashpoint and Exordium. Last time Flashpoint won that matchup 2-0.
Yeah.
And already Exordium have adapted to that previous set. They've learned from their mistakes. They came out the gates swinging with this early aggressive Serqet support, and that kind of disrupted the late game threats between FaraKrik's Kukulkan and Johnny's Kali.
Alka just pressuring Sibi there a little bit more so with the Serqet. Full tank build into play with the Pridwin 2 and the Mantle of Discord. Hate to see it. So always awkward, tricky situation taking on a Serqet like this.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to really start using that Spirit of the 9 Winds any longer against Alka that will receive that shield bubble during the last breath. So we're going to see Exordium's how they can siege this left side. FaraKrik needs to be in position to drop the tornado.
Funny enough, I do like Johnny's Magi's Cloak this game. There's not a whole lot of hard CC from Exordium that's confirmable. Really, it's Angry Days stun or what pressure Alka's going to bring to the fight more than anything else. It's really going to pop that bubble. So lock down some of those easy to hit CCs maybe, and then the harder ones have to be relied upon to turn it around. Tier 2 tower falls in mid, fire giant on all the members for another 2 minutes here of Exordium, as now they start to clear out the waves, and I think pushing from multiple angles might be the good call here.
Just trying to chip away at the Titan's protections, damage, and the health of that last remaining Tier 2 tower structure, while also allowing this fire minion wave to start trickling down the right side. Somebody from Flashpoint is going to have to attend to it, unless they want to concede a lot of Titan damage.
Tornado didn't really clear the minions, though. We'll need someone to step up and do it. But Chronos and, of course, Jormungandr have pretty good wave clear too. Wouldn't be surprised to see someone just head towards mid here, try and force a bit of a problem.
All these pools from Sibi, Gem of Isolation, hard to kind of walk by from Exordium. They have to funnel towards the left, but Kazi's going in.
With the blink, and now the engages after there. FaraKrik gets a big old shield from the Book of the Dead there, is what you saw. And meanwhile, in mid lane, Johnny's taking a 1v1 with Froisan, but he didn't know Alka was right behind him, and that poison will be enough to kill. Removes the healing option from Kali after the ult wears off, but also continues to take the damage.
Fusify gets caught between a rock and a hard place. Itori keeping him glued under the sun. Second Phoenix is going to fall now. Exordium pushing for the throne room.
And Alka going to dive on in, looking to try and find the kiss if he can. Middle Phoenix does fall down. All three are now down. And into the throne room go Exordium. Quick work of the Titan. And job should be a good. A couple of kills on the tail end on FaraKrik. Why not? I think it's back to the drawing board now for these boys.
It really is, honestly. Exordium, other team that, keep in mind, are without a single set victory. And now they're one game away from playing spoiler to Flashpoint. If Flashpoint lose this, their chances of being in that top 2 spot to make it to High-Res Expo heavily diminished.
Very strange to see how Flashpoint performed there, but it's more credit to Exordium than anything else. I don't think there's anything really wrong with Flashpoint's comp there. It just wasn't executed well.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that this was heavily disrupted by Alka's early aggressive Serqet support, and then I like the plays onto Kespainify, shutting down his Chronos. Great rotations from the Susano.
As you said though, it's only one game, still 2 more to come. We'll find out who wins this after the break.
Alienware, the official PC provider of the SMITE Minor League.
And welcome back to the SMITE Minor League. My name is Finch, and just like we build it, that Sket game just now was between the early game of Exordium and then the potential late game coming out from Flashpoint. They just really never got them, and Exordium, a team that hasn't won a single set now all phase, is suddenly 1 game away. Ryan, that was my description of how that game went. Did you see it largely the same way?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Alka on that Serqet support really did push the pace very early for Exordium, exactly as you expected they might. I mean, clearly Flashpoint might not have watched back the games and saw what you saw, or maybe they did and they thought they could handle it, but ultimately could not. Itori looked great on that Hou Yi in the mid lane, but for me it was really Alka and Angry. Those two played super well. Cozyx controlled a ton in these team fights. He was so far ahead, he was even able to build into a Masamune towards the late game. Amaterasu 9th pick seems kind of bonkers to me right now. I don't know, man. Flashpoint has got to pick things that are more early game slanted. You cannot go Kukulkan, Kali, and Chronos.
No, it doesn't make sense. And I don't want to spend too much time, I guess, harping on the off-meta picks there from Flashpoint, because clearly that was them giving something a try. But, I mean, it's hard not to notice that the Artio and the Kukulkan struggled mightily here in this game. I just don't know if those picks ever got to do whatever it is they saw in them.
Fusify on the Artio has to be able to play aggressively. If you want to get value out of that cripple, you have to be on top of someone. And if he was on top of someone, it wasn't by his choice most of the time. It was really just getting jumped on by these backliners and frontliners. Really, anyone from Exordium was able to close that gap pretty easily. Just really, I mean, look, that's a bad loss for Flashpoint to take. There's no doubt. But at the end of the day, Exordium did not play like an 0-7 team in this game. They played very, very well. I do think that a lot of credit deserves to go to Exordium, but Flashpoint seemed unprepared in picks and bans for what Exordium was going to do, and I think that's where they really need to change up going into Game 2.
I find myself agreeing. It felt like if Flashpoint got, or not Flashpoint, but Exordium got a lot of the stuff they would have drafted no matter what in that composition. I think you just can't let any team, especially here in the SML EU, get that much of their priority pick. So it'll be some time, I think, for Exordium now to try and make some or for Flashpoint to make some adjustments there after that game. I doubt we'll be seeing the Kukulkan again here this time. I think, for what it's worth, that they didn't even play the Kukulkan to a lot of Kukulkan's strengths there in that game.
Yep. I mean, you want to be on the defensive. That's number one for Kukulkan.
Yeah, they were
did that
running
part.
away a lot through tight corridors, so I guess that is good news. Yeah.
Yep. Phoenix defenses, that's where Kukulkan makes his money.
Sure.
They got on the Phoenix defense, but ultimately weren't able to get it done. Look, Kuku's not that good. Like, don't pick him. I really can't think of many scenarios where I'd rather have Kukulkan than just about any other mage in the game. I just think it was a bad pick.
Well, I do think this Thoth ban is great from Flashpoint. Take this one away from Angry's hands. At this point, he's now played it 3 games in a row, if you're willing to go all the way back to the set they played a week ago. So force him to come in and show that he can play something else here in a comp environment. Certainly that he can, but I think there's no reason to let him keep that rhythm going.
Man, Flashpoint, their picks and bans tell me 2 things very clearly. They don't have a Persephone player and they don't have an Isis player.
Right.
Because this is the perfect example of a team that should really benefit from a meta like this, where there are 3 really, really strong picks that no one really wants to let through, and Persephone and Set and Isis. Why are you banning 2 out of 3 in that
because
first
you have an extra
slot?
Sort of auto ban that no one else has, right?
Right.
Well, because you got to ban Ao Kwang against them.
Exactly. So coming into LAN, if Flashpoint make it, they have to fix that, because the bottom end SPL teams will exploit you for that. There's no way you can go into a game against SK Gaming and hope that they can just leave. They'll ban Persephone. We don't have to worry about it. No. Paul wants that stuff. I mean, you saw what he did. I think that's a massive oversight Flashpoint has to be able to fix before LAN.
I agree. This is a strong enough team where they should be looking a bit forward as well. I do think, though, that the taking away the Serqet is good. This is the Thoth away from Angry, the Serqet away from Alka. He might end up coming back to the Horus. I think that's what Alka played last time when he didn't have the aggressive pick. But this Najah could potentially be for Alka there as well. Another assassin that allows you to play aggressively early on.
And one of the only gods that can actually take care of Janus in these team fights. Janus oftentimes, Phenatons or Horus CC chain, whatever you want to do, beads are all, see ya, he's out of there. But Najah, hit him with that Windfire Wheels, it really changes that whole pace of the team fight and of the game. I like the idea of the Najah. It fits with what Alka likes to do. It's aggressive early on. It team fights well in your 3v3. And I think it's a pretty good pick against the Janus. I like it a lot.
This is good recognition, though, from Flashpoint. When Itori was playing, when he couldn't play the Chernobog, when that was banned away, it was either the Hou Yi or the Xbalanque. So Flashpoint, I imagine, would then also take away the Hou Yi here in this spot, so they've already taken the Xbalanque. And then we'll see if maybe it really was the Chernobog that was valued. But instead of wasting 2 bans on Itori, they take away the Jormungandr there from Cozyx. And in a world where you can't play the Amma, they've taken that one away. That limits his pool as well.
I like taking the Amma away. I love Flashpoint's composition so far. King Arthur's not bad here for Exordium. It's still sticking with the ability to dive the backline very heavily, but a lot less confirmed CC for King Arthur than Amaterasu. I think Exordium has done very well with their composition, but I think Flashpoint actually locked in during picks and bans.
Agreed.
And really focused up and thought about what they were doing from minute 1. I like their draft infinitely more than what we saw in Game 1.
And I agree. I think getting Exordium on just a good draft is way different from Exordium on their draft, I think. And that's what's happened here in this game. Exordium does still have a good draft, but they kind of got to show us that if they're not playing, maybe their picks, can they get a win this time? And even though they get to 10th pick Hou Yi, which is something that Itori just popped on, I think Flashpoint got to feel better.
Shocked that's on a Chernobog, though, for him. I mean,
Me too.
Chernobog's so much better against Daji. You can go into the wall and not get pulled by that Powwow. Whereas Hou Yi, no CC immunity. Chernobog has that.
That's actually a great point.
I think that's a huge, that could be a huge difference in this game is if Itori can stay safe.
He could certainly get bullied here this time. Can Exordium redo the magic from Game 1, or will Flashpoint right the ship?
Let's find out if the ship can even be righted, I guess, is the best thing to say. Well, FaraKrik's back on Janus, so we might be okay now.
Maybe. We'll see how he builds and how he plays this game. I'm expecting more standard stuff from Flashpoint now that have switched up their soul lane style, going for the Amaterasu. We saw what Kazi was able to do, dive the backline, very easily. Now it's Angry on the Chronos instead. Kespainify playing more safe on the Jingwei.
We've got two little gank situations going on. Alka really trying to gank the speed buff more than anything else if he can steal it away, but doesn't find it. And also Kespainify getting ganked by Froisan at the same time. Good damage out from Angry there, but not enough for the kill at this point in time. Hammer could have been an option. The spin's always solid. Johnny going to poke out Alka away from these camps a little bit more so. Alka just going to have to resustain with some of these health potions he's got ticking away. He's still trying to delay a little bit of the jungle where he can. Instead of going for the blue invade, though, just going to try and steal away these harpies.
Exordium still holding to their true early start and aggressive nature. Alka was on the Serqet game 1, now on the Naja. You need to be looking for invades any way you can. And now the difference between Johnny and also the likes of Froisan, the jungle experience per minute, is where you're seeing it.
Fusify going to meet in the jungle there with Froisan and that red buff on Exordium's side of the map. Red buff is stolen away by Fusify then, as is the speed on the top right-hand corner, I believe, was taken by him too. So, good work from both teams here. Purple was invaded by Exordium as well as Harpies, but at the same time, Flashpoint got purple and speed, and they left a camp up. Hate to see it. Fusify still trying to fight in this at the moment. Ring toss from Alka off the mark. And both at level 1. Going to be a tricky situation. Might as well go farm, boys.
Yeah,
it's boring.
That's a little BM, honestly, to leave a speed buff, a little camp there. But honestly, you got to do what you got to do at the end of the day, invading speed and red buff. This is crippling Froisan.
I agree, and I've got to say, I think that is a very underestimated tactic in Smite that's not used properly. Like, as in, kill the big camp, kill one of the babies, and leave one so the camp doesn't fully respawn. Delays buffs, delays farm on that side of the jungle. It's a huge win. A lot of players always talk about, well, we want to go back and invade it again, right? But that means you're gambling to go and invade it again and hoping it works. Why not take the easier risk of they're going to have no farm?
Sometimes your AoE damage is too high that you can't help but kill those small ones.
And I can agree with that bit, but sometimes there's definitely windows where you could leave a baby up, you know? Look into it in your own games. It'll definitely help out, especially if you're invading purples or blue buffs and you're not going to always get them on rotation. Just try and, even in a situation like this, where he gets to go to the camp and go, I hate my life.
Yeah, Froisan not going to get a speed buff there for another 2 minutes after spawn. So at 4:36, it will respawn. But at that point, Johnny, he'll have his speed buff timer, and he should be able to counter-invade.
But at the same time, even if they don't manage to find the speed buff again now, it's going to throw off the timings in the jungle a little bit. Because the job of a jungler, even though it's not thought about, is to actually try and keep track of where the enemy jungler would be at any given time too.
Yes.
You're supposed to follow your lane opponent, and junglers don't have lanes, but they do have positions that you expect them to be in. Speed buff on rotation, blue buff on rotation, red buff, and they get into a little pattern like that. But if you can throw them off that pattern, it also discombobulates both teams.
Well, the fact that it dropped at 2:36, the little small speed buff minion, doesn't really separate it too far away. Only like by 5 seconds. So I don't see how Johnny can get his own speed buff on his respawn and make it to the other side for that invade, unless some other Flashpoint members look for the invades instead.
Well, I think the only difference is, though, is that Johnny's got a fresh speed buff up now, whereas Froisan still waiting. Angry under a lot of pressure from Fusify here. Good poke damage out on this Serqet. Fusify playing the Serqet this time round. After Alka had it last game, Alka has now gone instead with this Naja option.
Angry going to have to kind of tend to that minion wave as Kespainify will back. Fusify going to just delay the farming potential. Angry losing a lot of gold under that tower, even some experience, neglecting some of that wave just so he can confirm the purple buff.
Oh, and he blinks in and steals it away. Ambushes over the wall to safety. And another successful invade. This is what Flashpoint are trying to do now, just frustrate Exordium a little bit where they can.
Angry does have access to rewind, so he should be feeling safe in this lane. And up against the Jing Wei, it's different compared to the other matchup when it was Angry with a Thoth against the Chronos that was easily poking him out. Chronos shouldn't be in danger against the Jing Wei in this game.
Froisan and Itori trying to get aggressive there, but with hammered down. Froisan forced to spin to try and give himself a bit of help there. Space and time fired, and it's straight down the middle. FaraKrik definitely a different version of himself in this one, it feels like.
Really accurate.
Hit an ult of Janus, ult straight away, okay.
Sometimes you need a harder challenge, Hindu man. Why would you obviously hit your Zephyrs in game 1 when you can hit through space and time in game 2?
I'm not joking, I think that's a real true effect in Smite that people underestimate, is the harder abilities you sometimes, for some reason, can make it work out a little bit better. Alka taking a lot of pressure onto Fusify here. Great ricochet from Itori too. Honestly, the Sun set it up because of the slow.
Oh, yeah.
But the fight initially was a good one between the two. 1-1 then on the scoreboard.
Utilizing that Mark of the Golden Crow amplification of his other abilities to full effect. The slows of the ultimate, the knock up on the dive bomb, the stun on the ricochet. There was no real way for Fusify to get out there with his blink relic instead of the beats.
I think Harpy's going to go down here. In the moment, full boots online for FaraKrik this time round. The pen option. And now Johnny back towards the mid lane. Keep an eye on him as this game goes on. Playing as Dargy. Don't see too much Dargy too often. You just see it now and again. Oh, right inside though. Big fight.
Kazi just going to get poked out. 7 Amaterasu versus 7 King Arthur. You're not expecting kills in this matchup. They're just stacking up their Warrior's Blessing, looking for poke. Gladiator Shield for Kazi, whereas Sibi's going to transfer the auras just to sustain up. But more action in the support versus support instead.
Support versus jungle needs to get in there. Fusify just continuing to keep the pressure going and rolling wherever he can. So there's too many assassins. That's the issue. 4 assassins in the game at this moment.
Yeah,
that's why it gets confusing. Who's support and who's jungle? It doesn't matter. Supports are basically junglers at this point in time.
I wouldn't be surprised if eventually we do start seeing some Thor supports, especially in the invade meta. You want to utilize that Thor passive physical power gaining for every additional enemy nearby you.
The only problem with the assassins as the game goes on is they do peter off a little bit. They don't stay as tanky as a Guardian would be or a Warrior would be in the later stages of the game. Sure, they can build tanky, but they do end up being a little bit squishier.
It's true. It just depends on what options you have. Maybe some sustain up in the sky.
Alka finds a good ultimate there onto Fusify, but Fusify not really panicking. Into the sky goes Froisan, though, trying to help out here. Pressure is on to the backside of Fusify. Funny enough, they try to focus the support, and the ricochet from mid lane there. Itori just couldn't find it. Space and time. Just off the mark this time. Johnny going to try and turn things around, however, with that ultimate, and will actually set up Kespainify for a kill.
Even forcing the beats out of Angry's Chronos there that got hit by one of those Palau effects. This is a more aggressive early start from Flashpoint. Really adapting from their Game 1 deficit, and even Fusify invading this Thor now. Level 6 on Froisan, almost level 8 for Johnny.
Okay, going to turn up to find Fusify here. Fusify not going to have an ability yet. Is he going for the kill? I think. Oh, okay. That's weird.
That was a little odd, honestly. Great rotation, though, from Exordium.
The pause was weird because I was like, what was going on there? I'm surprised he went for the kill and not for the secure of the camp, first of all.
What he wanted to do was use Deathbane to clear the camp and disengage at the same time to zigzag as far as possible. He ambushed in, so his only escape was Deathbane. If he Deathbane's on top of himself to confirm the speed buff, he would have to rely on the mobility of the speed buff to escape.
I was definitely meaning Alka in that situation because Alka turned up there with ring toss and instead of going like for the clear and trying to secure the buff, he went full damage focus onto Fusify and actually lost the speed buff because of that.
It worked out, though, I think.
They got a kill.
Yeah, they got a kill there. Froisan was still able to pick up the speed buff after confirming it, so a good look to keep Froisan relevant. But the experience gap is getting a little dicey. Yeah. Johnny almost level 9, Froisan barely almost level 7.
Yeah, big situation there between the two. Fusify going to find Angry back and awkward situation between the two there. One was basing and shopping and heard some noise, and the other one expected something different to happen.
Yeah, he thought the Cobra's Kiss was going to come out, so he tried to juke it, which never came out until it was a little too late. Alka getting off some poke with the ring bounces there. This level 6 Naja, with 2 assists thus far, has been a big impact, whether it was the Serqet or the Naja in Game 2. But this time around, it's up to Itori to really make things happen on this Hoi.
If he keeps letting ricochets like that, then just sets he's up easy ults for Alka. Great little pick onto Fusify, and he's just going to be careful there, Fusify. Those angles in the mid lane as a support player, doesn't matter what god you're playing in the early game. If you get caught in those angles as a support, you're not going to have the survivability to withstand much of an all-in situation like
Great execution from the setup out of Itori, and then great communication from Alka saying to Itori, he's like, I got this kill, save your ultimate, it's not necessary here, and now that's going to be used maybe for another offensive play onto FaraKrik or just defensive peels if he gets in trouble later.
Bit of pressure from Itori again in mid as he looks to try and land that ricochet on towards FaraKrik, who is basing there. Looks like he's working on the Chronos Pendant, which is a standard option for Janus. 20% CDR is definitely something that they always look to have. The more CDR you have as Janus, the more escapes you've got.
With a Mage's Blessing, he'll be at 30% CDR. Fusify trying to avoid the ricochet stun. Itori lining it up, so why not ambush aggressively?
Meanwhile, on the right-hand side, Johnny taking an Alka at the same time. Sun's down, Fusify dead again. FaraKrik can only really watch on there. Alka, meanwhile, being chased down by Sibi and will be secured by the ultimate out from him. In the mid lane, though, Johnny getting pressured by Froisan, who Froisan ulted into this fight. Now he's forced to beat a way to safety. But on landing, Johnny's in trouble, and Arthur is into play. Cozy helps Angry get a kill there. Same can be said, though, as we did see Sibi pick one up for himself.
Maybe if FaraKrik used his ultimate defensively across the left side mid-camps into the right, Johnny could have escaped there. But trading out Itori or Johnny, but then also killing Fusify, Exordium are slowly crawling their way back into this game.
Yeah, it's all going to be about this first goal period, I think, to dictate a bit more of this pace. In terms of secure the goal period, I'm definitely favouring a little bit more so for Exordium, just because of that Ho Yi and the Suns for just AoE denial and area control. Not a whole lot of AoE denial and area control from Flashpoint, outside of really Johnny's ultimate, which is more for kills.
That's very true. Itori was the one with the experience lead in the last game, but against a Janus for FaraKrik this time around, it's hard to really keep up with that pacing for the extra mobility that the threshold gives you, that the portals give you. It's more farming opportunities as FaraKrik has taken full advantage of.
Fight over the Tomaku, pretty even there over on that side of the map, 4 to 4 I should say now, as Sibi just secures that one, but in mid lane, Fusify gives a kiss to Itori and gets a sash for his trouble from Alka just to deny any follow-up damage. Good little supportive play from that Naja there. Not the easiest one in the world to supportive play on. Sure, he's got that sash for a stun, but sometimes it's hard to read the situation. If you misjudge it, you just wasted an opportunity.
With all these deaths on the supports, they are heavily under-leveled for the current state of the game. Normally you see supports at like level 8 to level 9 almost, with Gauntlet of Thieves already completed, but there's just been so much action to the point where they haven't gotten the farming opportunities because they either died or they had to back to base to heal up.
And eventually those two supports will have to go and do a little bit more farming and soak somewhere, just because if the assassins get too far behind, it's the same, a Guardian can be behind because they've got that extra tankiness. Fusify gonna use the ultimate on Alka here. Alka not really panicking as he knows he's got Froisan and Itori right behind him. FaraKrik nearly got hit by the sash and got away with it. But he might not get away from the Suns as easy. He's forced to use the space and time away thanks to the pressure. Froisan in the sky looking to maybe cut ult back in. Fusify's there, Johnny up, Froisan out. Cozy could be on an adventure, but he will use his ultimate defensively.
Excalibur's Wrath needing to unchain himself from the powwow. I like that play from Kazi. Also, FaraKrik was considering using that ultimate offensively, considering how low Alka was, but the chances of hitting that ultimate, unlikely. So you'd rather be safe than sorry, because not only did he need to escape, as did Fusify, so it was a little bit of a wash for both teams at the end of the day.
Sibi getting chunked a little bit here. Cozy just really damage checking to see what the state of play is between these two warriors over in the solo lane. Bit of an advantage in terms of build. In one way or another, I guess Gladiator Shield for Cozy kind of standard on King Arthur, whereas it looks like Sibi's going for that Breastplate of Valor, which we start to, it always comes in a meta Breastplate of Valor, you know? The 20% CDR and the physical protection,
good.
Always useful.
It's definitely useful with the MP5 there. You're getting a lot of mana to follow suit as you're going for Blackthorn's Hammer more often than not, so you need to round out that 40% CDR. The three go-to items for most soul laners are the Blackthorns, the Breastplate, and the Genji's Guard. That rounds out your CDR, that gives you a plenty amount of mana and MP5 to play with.
It's funny because once you've got Blackthorn Hammer, it doesn't matter if you lose your buff on cooldown anymore. Your blue buff is not really as important. Sure, blue buff does give you a cooldown reduction, which everyone underestimates, but it's mainly there for the mana regen that you don't always have to need. Especially, I guess, when you've got a Tomaku that you could just try and secure.
That's true. You're getting about 10 MP5 from that little objective, but it's been relatively back and forth from the Totem of Ku and this whole game, honestly, as Flashpoint are trying to even out this set score.
And Exordium really stepping up to the ball game today, especially with how their performances have been through the split. You know, they're at the bottom of the standings, but it shows that Minor League's still really solid from the top to the bottom. If this is one of the top teams in Flashpoint taking on one of the bottom teams, Exordium are putting up as much as they can.
They definitely are, as we haven't seen a Gold Fury in game number 1 until about the 16, 17 minute mark. Last time it was Exordium, but this one, I don't see either of these teams really starting it yet. They haven't given up too many opportunities for that positioning, but it looks like there's a lot of red wards from Exordium on that left side of the map.
Yeah, as you mentioned that too, both the solo laners have teleport this game as well, so it won't be as easy tell that the Gold Fury is going to get started up when you just see somebody rotate over there without TP. You know there's going to be action. Wall out from Froisan, gets avoided by Kespainify, and he ate a ton more damage than bargained for. Great save from Alka there. What an ultimate time to turn around and save Froisan. Froisan went to the sky though, may look to dunk on this, but they'll know he's coming. He may want to just get out of dodge here, because Johnny's still hovering around. No beads, remember. And he just commits to that purple. That was a risky play, but I appreciate it from Froisan to secure the purple and then get away again.
Use the burst damage from your Anvil of Dawn. With the Berserker's Barrage, that purple buff is going to go down at the very end of that channeled ability. So
I'm just worried, man. If Johnny gets in range there, if Johnny blinks over that wall, you're dead because he's got power out, right?
Oh, I agree. Absolutely. Without the beats.
Under pressure, Kespainify, under pressure, all the Phis are gonna die! And it's gonna be Angry Day that probably gets this kill. No, Alka secures it, but Johnny punishes Alka for his indiscretions. In mid lane, it's Itori. They'll go down to Sibi, who made a better rotation than Cozy there to help out. I tell you what, if Cozy would have sniffed the danger of like Johnny and FaraKrik in there, he might be able to go into that jungle and force a bit of a problem. Exordium taking down a tier 1 tower then on this left-hand side, thanks to Angry sticking around. And with Cozy now around, and Froisan too, this Gold Fury could be an option.
Uh-oh. Sibi, though, around the corner, has Dazzling Offensive. You got to poke him out and zone him away.
This or force seal early on. That's what you're after doing. The Dazzling Offensive now down, and Sibi forced to fall back. FaraKrik just set up with a soul gem there. You just saw the little heal proc as well. Start to go back into play again. Cooldown reduction. Heal to your teammates.
Yeah.
Extra burst damage.
Not a bad item, I think, honestly. It rounds out his CDR with the Mage's Blessing, the Soul Gem, and the Chronos Pendant. But more importantly, is the sustain that you're getting for you and your teammates if you can hit your unstable vortexes.
And Janus is probably one of the best gods to get that on just because of the way he can proc those stacks.
That's right, Threshold.
The portals and the Threshold. When he walks through a portal, he'll get a stack. When he goes through his Threshold, he'll get a stack. In a couple of seconds, you're at 4 stacks already and ready to nuke someone's face off once more with that space and time.
Yeah, it's going to be very easy for him to make sure that he's doing extra damage. And this item used to do a little bit more than it does at its current iteration. So I like the fact that some of these items come in and out depending on a player's style. Sometimes where we see like Shoes of Focus and no Soul Gem trying to go for more penetration early on. It kind of delays the Obsidian Shard, though.
Play for Alka. The mid lane is Fusify blinks and kisses him, but Itori just threw on the crow mark. And that forced him back. I was scared of that ricochet coming through. I was just looking at the supports real quick. You see Alka's managed to catch up to Johnny in the jungle and his support play. He's having a good game on this Naja, finding the farm, and now he's looking to pressure in the jungle once more. Fusify and Johnny gonna have to fall back. Gold Fury is available here.
Yeah, you were talking about Alka's plays as that last defensive play saved the life from Froisan. That blink, Windfire Wheels. Kespainify was one basic attack or even a airstrike away from securing that kill onto Froisan as Flashpoint. Posturing around these left side mid camps. I don't expect them to try to overextend yet. FaraKrik with not too much mana to play with.
All tied up. We're just waiting for this next fight more than the first, because I feel like everyone's posturing for the Gold Cube, but nobody feels too confident yet. FaraKrik's mana pool is starting to dwindle, though, here after spamming these abilities, so he's going to have to fall back sooner rather than later, and just be a little bit careful of that mana running out.
Yeah, backside, Kazi was making this rotation into the Gold Fury side. His teleport's down for 100 seconds, so this might be an all-in commit for Exordium.
Okay, let's see how this works out. Fusify is going to be the first on the scene and meets Cozy. Gold Fury at half health. Fusify trying to get into the fray. Great wall and good Berserker barrage. Gold Fury goes down for Flashpoint.
They steal it!
He did steal it away there, but can they find a fight after that? Froisan going to go aggressive there towards Fusify and get the kill. Good shell came into play actually from Alka to help out with the poison damage, but Johnny got a big powwow, and into a big old cone of death they come. 2 more members fall. Johnny loses life to Angry on the back of this, and they might be able to turn this around here, Exordium.
It's very possible, but not unless Angry dies before the rewind goes off. Jumping into safety in mid is Itori. Cozy now left between a rock and a hard place in a 1v3, but he is a King Arthur after all.
He will get the Excalibur's wrap off on towards Cozy there on the backside, so not towards Cozy, towards the rest of the team there. Will escape one by one. I believe he did force the beads out from FaraKrik there at the tail end of that, because I think it could have been a bit of a dangerous situation.
Oh, yeah.
Itori was loose.
Absolutely. I think that beads was absolutely necessary from FaraKrik. Great plays coming out of the Janus this time around. Stealing the objective, finding the plays, Flashpoint getting the better end of it with a 3 for 2.
Sibi's going to walk Itori all the way back towards his tier 2. Goal's pretty much even here. It was a Gold Fury that went down for Flashpoint. Still not sure what stole that, Tolly.
I think it was through space and time because...
No, it looked like that was late to me. I mean, at first I thought that, but then when I looked at it, it looked like it was a little bit late.
Maybe it was just the unstable vortex, honestly. It could have been a lot of ranged abilities, because Fusify was definitely getting zoned out. He was crippled, he was stunned, he tried to make an aggressive Deathbane happen, but the zigzag didn't look like it was in trajectory to match that. So Exordium still going to have to reconsider how they can approach this objective for next time. If they don't really have vision of FaraKrik, you don't want to start that objective.
That's a good point. Just go away from production. They're trying to work it out for us too, to work out what it was, because they're not sure either at the moment. So we might be able to throw that back in a little bit and find out who got that gold or what exactly got it, because it was a bit of a cluster situation. Pyromancer going to go down relatively quickly, unless Alka can do something about it. But on a Naja, without blink up, he's going to have a harder time. Now he gets ulted, has to ult away to safety there after the ultimate out from Fusify. Meanwhile, the right-hand side, Froisan under a lot of pressure, jumps to his hammer, jukes out 3 of the Powwow chains. Space and time misses him too, he's still alive. But at the tail end, Kespainify will get the kill.
Flashpoint looking for a little bit more than just a 1 kill. They need a little bit more. Angry with a nice double time stop, though.
With the ward there, too. It just gave full vision for Angry to get that time stop off on 2 targets. Kespainify with no beads has Aegis and ult available still. And he stands tall there to deal some decent damage. Plus, these Soul Gem procs are starting to heal up his team from FaraKrik. And it's really dwindling the health pools of this Exordium roster.
Itori taking a lot of damage so far here. Exordium, though, feeling confident that they can continue pressuring at least down the mid lane, as Alka will have to back as well. Flashpoint, though, they got the objective that they wanted, and they traded out 1-for-1 Froisan for Sibi.
Let's have a little look back at that Gold Fury real quick. I believe production's got a little angle for us to see how that did go down. Who did steal it? Was it Space and Time?
About to find out. So Angry starts it. It gets down very low. Great zoning coming from the backside of Kazi and Froisan. But look where Kespainify is. It was through space and time. Yeah.
It didn't look like it to me. I didn't see it coming. And I was like, no, that looks like it was late. All right, so it was Space and Time. Curses.
If there's ever a Janus in the game,
I feel like that's the case, you know?
It's the easiest ability to call.
It's very rare, though, that I feel like I'm wrong about that. And I was like, wait, that doesn't look like it. Like, I don't normally say, I'm just like, okay, Space and Time. Anyway, Janus OP is stealing Gold Furies and Fire Giants. He's been doing that since his invention. Johnny, though, all in, but a good juke back towards Sibi. Used his teammate to escape. And now Exordium are overextended and nothing to show for it. Johnny going to recommit with a blink and put the pressure on Froisan. Meanwhile, the Space and Time got fired up, and there's Johnny with the Powwows again. Leave them at the tail end to kill 1, but he will pull in Alka to his death. 2 kills for Johnny in that fight. Nice plays from Flashpoint.
Exordium really overextending the same way Flashpoint was in the previous game. That's where Flashpoint set up that trap in the last game and got heavily punished for it. Exordium with only 2 members strong. Hard to be aggressive against a composition with a Janus. The repositioning with the portals makes it so hard to get away, even if you do get 1 kill.
Completely agreed. I think when Janus comes in and out of the meta a little bit, people forget about his mobility, the help he'll bring to his team. In a competitive game, and I mean like in professional play or minor league play at this sort of level, these Janus portals bring another thing to the battle. In your ranked games and your casual games, you're not going to have the same communication or usage of these portals that you'll see at this level. With portaling teammates through walls, into danger, out of danger, gank attempts. Very, very useful and pretty OP, to be fair.
And because of Flashpoint's early success, I like how Sibi has adapted his build style, going for Hide of Urchin, a very unpopular item in Season 6, considering that it's more methodical about how you approach teamfights, but with already 6 stacks, he's 1 away from fully completing it, which would give him 51 protections of each physical and magical, and then that health shield at the very end, just to get a little bit of a buffer in between these teamfights.
It not just be a round number like 50, it had to be 51, huh? Fusify eats a lot of damage there from Angry as well as Alka, Cozy, and Toe. This Primal Fury is going to be important because it does allow him to just quickly chip away at the Fire Giant a bit quicker and also take a little bit less damage on it while you're just trying to maybe bait the team in. Fury pulled. Sibi's going to be the first one on watch here to follow suit. And obviously this Side of the Urchin, we mentioned it, all stacking items, realistically, are only good when they're fully stacked.
Usually.
But they're normally OP when they're fully stacked too.
Usually that's the case. I mean, it's a achievement goal. It's not necessarily OP.
Is there one that's not? Like, is there a stacking item that doesn't get better? Or like, it doesn't?
I mean, they're always going to get better.
Yeah.
But
I mean, in terms of like usefulness of like how cost efficient it is, at the start, it normally isn't very cost efficient.
Sure.
Until it's stacked.
I agree with you. I think that you could probably get away with Book of Thoth without its evolution there at Kazi, though. Trying to make something happen.
Crit starting to really start to ring home from Kespainify there. Felna on Deathbringer online as well for that Jing Wei. So he will be critting for High Heaven. Alka's wrapping around the back on the Naja though, as Sibi gets aggressive on Angry Day. Cozy though, going to jump in on Kespainify. He should be able to leap off the back of that fight. Froisan in the sky on the Thor, looking for a dunk target. Where's his option going to be is the real question. He goes into a Johnny, but Johnny uses power at the same time, and he pulls Alka back into a dangerous zone. But Alka really on his own will get his Windfire wheels off, and now FaraKrik still zoning away because Cozy at the moment. Still, Alka didn't get any help from his team. They couldn't get into help, so he gets punished too. 1 for 1.
Angry going to continue the chase, avoiding that unstable vortex in the backside. Fusify will keep him busy. Now he's going to be in a world of hurt there, overextended as a Chronos.
And now the damage over the wall from the unstable vortex just destroyed the health bars of the assassin. And then
2
with
for
an
1.
airstrike, Kespainify takes out Itori. This should be a tier 1 in the mid lane.
A 2 for the price of 1 ultimate. What a play coming through from Kespainify, holding on to that ultimate for as long as he could. It looked good originally for Exordium, but man, Angry was too ambitious, trying to make something out of nothing.
And back we go to the Primal Fury. Cozy on the way though. What can he do to stop this? Ultimate is available to try and slow this down. He's going to go for the Yeet, and he does so with Excalibur to slow them down some more. He's forcing them away, but in doing so, he's probably going to cost him his own life. He at least forces the reset of the Fury. How do you feel about those plays, Tully? When you're going in like that, do you want to force him off and try and reset? I don't think he's going to get away, is he?
No, he's definitely not. So it made sense because at the time, he only sees 2 members. It was Dzoni and Kespainify. So I like the idea in a 1v2. Getting the stun, getting the cripple, you're healing off of the 2 members, but FaraKrik coming in, his Soul Gem even procced onto Kespainify, healing him up just a tad.
Yeah, I was meaning in terms of like, was it a good idea to try and save, lose his life for the Gold Fury save? Alka blinking in early here, throws out the ring toss, realizing he was just committed a little bit too early. And there'll be an Exordium, recognize it until it was too late. Alka dead as well, ultimate used as well, I believe, as the blink to try and get in and out of that unfortunate state of affairs because Cozy's still dead. And this is a power play situation now with Flashpoint and all the members having fire giant.
4 more towers remain. Flashpoint waiting to pluck them away to get 5,000 extra gold in their pockets. And I would like to see them go for the towers and then back. Spend that 5,000 gold that they're going to get. Maybe get that Oni Fury on top.
He doesn't realize Fusify was behind him, and after a quick kiss, he will now.
Okay.
No chance of a rewind there when Unstable Vortex hits you for that much of your health bar. Now back to the tier 2 they go. You see the Runner 2 Heat hovered over there. 150 magical power and the extra damage at below 50%. Always useful. Mid lane, Itori goes down, and the collapse of Exordium has now really truly happened. This damage being dealt everywhere to them. Flashpoint are back on their A game after game 1.
I'm surprised Exordium were even trying to defend their tier 2 towers instead of giving them up to defend the Phoenixes. And now without their backline, there's no way they can defend their Phoenixes and not even maybe defend their Titan.
Johnny going in, but doesn't have the power to get away. Good slash from Alka, but the crits from the Jing way are just destroying health bars. Space and time used, and that's game number 2.
Flashpoint are now back into the set at 1-1 apiece. Great plays from everyone, honestly, especially FaraKrik now on the Janus.
Yeah, the Janus game's up big in that game. A big difference between the Kukulkan game and the Janus game there.
Yeah.
I will say Fusify did okay things with the Serqet, but he seemed to struggle a little bit in the early game. Realistically though, Johnny on that Dargy really made a difference.
It really did. I think that the way Fusify was able to disrupt Froisan on the Thor allowed Johnny that early momentum and success, and also Kespainify felt more safe and comfortable where he didn't have to worry about the Thoth against his own Chronos playing the Jing way instead.
Definitely a good performance from them overall, but enough from us. Let's get it over to the desk to break that down.
Thanks, Hindi. Thanks, Anatoly. Another good game here in what has so far been a very entertaining set. It's Flashpoint that come away on top here this time, but Exordium are right there with them until those last 2 fights. Things kind of get away from the squad. Ryan, you're right here next to me, man. Well, what wasn't it went so wrong for them towards the end of this game?
One big fight around the Gold Fury where Angry just doesn't get anything off as Chronos. I mean, dies with ult up and both relics. It feels tough, man, but that Jingwei crit coming through from Kespainify ends up being the difference maker in the end. FaraKrik stealing away the Gold Fury with that through space and time. The difference between him on the Kukulkan and him on the Janus is night and day, how much more impact he had. Johnny's able to actually affect these 3v3 fights in mid, even with Fusify taking a lot of deaths early on, started off 0-4. Ultimately, the fight is so much stronger, and we start to see the inexperience of Exordium pop through a little bit, I think.
I agree.
That last Fire Giant fight, Alka walks in, doesn't get the, tosses a ring toss. The Fire Giant's half HP, but sticks around anyways and gets killed for free. Just a couple weird engagements, I would say, from Exordium, and that's what happens for these teams is the inability to right the ship again when things start going wrong. The ability to stem the bleeding, plug the holes, it just didn't happen.
And that Gold Fury fight, I mean, there was a ton of really critical ones around it, but the one that ended up, I feel like, really sealing the game, kind of that big turning point, is where Alka goes in initially by himself first. The rest of the team is zoned back behind red buff. I'm not saying he doesn't get a good Windfire Wheels, he does, but what makes it a bad one is that there's no one there to follow up for it right afterwards. Then Alka gets picked, and I guess Angry feels like we got to make something out of this. He dives too far. Those two guys for me were the heroes of game 1, but I think they probably put them in a really bad spot here in game 2.
Yeah.
I mean, they both died before they even got to make a Phoenix defense.
Yeah, that's definitely not the call. I mean, you got to do a little bit better than that, and that's where inexperience shines through a little bit, I think, and the ability to understand how to play on the defensive. Exordium still, overall, I'm impressed with how they've played today, even with a much worse draft for them, I would say. Really just a better draft by Flashpoint. I still think they showed up and looked very competitive. Itori is nuts on the Hou Yi, by the way. If I'm on Flashpoint, you know, I'm in the mid lane. I watch Fusify go in and insta-die. Yes, he got the beads in the ult, but, like, you kind of got 2v1 there in mid, and that's not a good look for you anytime.
Well, Flashpoint are going to make sure Angry can't get back onto that Thoth. Happy to ban that one right away. And then obviously Set cannot be allowed in. Exordium continue their trend of banning the Alkwang and the Khepri. This stuff has all been fairly the same. But sort of what you said, I wonder if there's any chance that maybe you try and stop this Hou Yi from coming out as Exordium ban the Serqet themselves.
Love it. Love this idea. Now you get Isis or Persephone, and Flashpoint has to choose. They give you Isis because Flashpoint clearly not ready to play Persephone.
You were right. I mean, they banned it away from themselves. I would have tried to make Exordium prove they were ready for it. I feel like that's probably safer than giving them an Isis here in this spot. But as you said, if you're not ready, then you do have to ban it there.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe Flashpoint's not even ready to play against it.
Right.
And
I think that's what
threat of leaving both open there, that, hey, they'll get Persephone, we'll get Isis. What does Persephone do again? You know, like that's not exactly what you want to hear. That's a big win for Exordium here in picks and bans, but how well can Alka play on something that's not the Serqet, I think, is going to be the next question mark for me in this draft.
And for what it's worth, I think his Najah was strong. His Horus can certainly be strong too. I think that just at the end of the game, a couple of poor decisions started to come out from this team. Yep. And it makes some sense. They were in a spot to win their first set ever. It can be tough, I think, when you're staring down the barrel of a winless phase to make sure you maintain your composure when you're about to finally cross that finish line. But now they got some comfort picks here for him and that Isis. This might be their chance.
And to your point, it's against the second seed. So I think that really does amplify that fact. I completely agree with you. As Flashpoint, despite giving up the Isis, get a pretty good first 3 in Amaterasu, Kukulkan, and that Janus. I like this idea of going Ama Kumba against the Isis. What does she do against Dazzling Offensive? Drop Circle of Protection and hopes for some help. I mean, that's it. And then you get Epic Uppercut it out of there. It is tough, man. Ama is just so good right now. It is just a perfect pick against the Isis. I do think that that's something that teams are going to have to worry about. Is Isis worth first picking if the enemy team can just get Amaterasu?
And we saw it happen last time. Amaterasu just straight up rotates faster as well. There were a couple of fights where Sibi got there a little bit ahead of Cozyx, and I think just numbers were hurting Exordium there too, so there's a lot to be considered when we're giving up Amaterasu nowadays. She has so much value. As Exordium again starts to turn an eye towards Dzoni, they've already banned the Alkwang. Now the Kali, last time Dzoni, when he wasn't able to play the Alkwang, was still able to have a pretty good game. It's just a question of how much can you mitigate it.
Love the Dodgy ban, same sort of idea. You don't want to give him a rhythm pick that he got into there in game number 2. Hunbats is good, and you already have a bunch of beads burners, so I think this is a solid pick for Flashpoint. But remember, a lot of things that Hunbats does are kind of slow, and Isis punishes those characters super heavily between Dispel Magic and Spirit Ball. Overhand Smash is going to be very difficult for Dzoni to actually get off if he's trying to get it on Isis.
Thor is still open, right? And neither one of these junglers wanted it here for this draft.
Yep.
I mean, this makes some sense. Hunbats is something that's not only really strong for this draft, they already have a bunch of beads burners, as you said, but that Froisan did play the last time this team was out there, so maybe it can double time as a pick that maybe you take away from Exordium. So I don't dislike it here, but I don't know, man. Thor's real good. I'm going to be on that boat, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a safe boat to be on. I don't think that one's sinking anytime soon. Robin, a pretty good pick against a lot of, really both sides. Robin, he's just always good. Just pick him. I don't know. This one's going to be close. I'm excited.
I find myself agreeing. Flashpoint versus Exordium, a closer one than you might have expected. Let's get it started.
Thanks so much, Finch and Aggro on the desk. Me and Tori back for game number 3 between Exordium and Flashpoint too. Alka going to be playing the Horus this time round. 2 assassins in a row, but this time a bit more of a defensive option. Similar playstyle though, with aggressive engages. However, blinking there, my friend, might put you in a world of hurt. Thank goodness he had the dash away to safety.
Yeah, Johnny should be able to get a speed buff uncontested, but it delays it by a couple of seconds regardless, by 4 seconds. And that's a Hun Bat. Your level 1 clear, not the greatest. To be fair, Robin as well, not the greatest at level 1 clearing. Similar starts now where both of these junglers are looking to go to their red buff, but Johnny goes there first because it looks like Exordium is going to go for an invade instead.
Yeah, Itori's on the way with the Hachiman right about now, looking towards Johnny. And then we'll pick up the red buff and steal it away. Itori pressuring Johnny as well, but only at level 1. The banner won't do a ton of damage. Johnny will survive as the red buff is stolen. Meanwhile, Kespainify just trying to secure his own purple, but he might not get a chance against Froisan here on this Raven.
Just wanted level 2 from the 2 small purple minions. Froisan will still commit to this. If he doesn't get it, though, all right, I was about to say his level 2 would be heavily delayed now as we're seeing a rotation here in mid.
Good beats out from Itori there just to avoid the CC chain that was coming through pretty heavily. But now Flashpoint trying to make the red buff here. Alka going to stun Fusify in place.
He got it.
He did defend the buff actually with the slice damage, I think is what happened there.
That's right.
To secure from the penetration option. Angry rotating Inspirable off the mark. FaraKrik jumps through the portal. Johnny exits left-hand side. Good escape route from Johnny there.
Should be fine with a speed buff. Angry will commit the chase, or at least to get the farm. Will cancel that lazy back out of Johnny out of nowhere. So this has been slightly favoring Exordium, invading the red buff, keeping their own red buff alive, as well as invading that purple buff. So Kespainify is going to struggle against Angry's Isis, this mage versus a hunter matchup. We don't really see this kind of a matchup because Isis normally gets banned away, but to put Isis in the long lane, I think, is to do an injustice to Isis. In a way. Because yes, you do get more levels being in the long lane as a mage, since you're not really sharing farm as opposed to mid, but the Isis utility between the stun, the silence, and the circle of protection, amount of space you control, is so much better at those early fights.
I can agree with that too, especially if you're going to be against a Janus in the mid lane potentially as well. Because Janus against Isis is not really a matchup that Janus is going to enjoy at all.
Sure. Now, it might be a play where Exordium are thinking like, okay, we'll just force Gold Furies. I like once the Isis is level 13, 3 points in that circle of protection makes it easier to confirm that objective. So if that's how Exordium is going to play, seeing how like, oh, we can't really force plays against Janus anyway with how slippery he is being a Janus. So maybe that could be the mindset of Exo here.
So Alka blinks to this left-hand side, looking for the red buff steal away again from Exordium. Pressure continues for this side of the map, and a bit of a lead has developed because of it. No actual kills so far. First body's still worth 400 gold though, so quick answer back from Flashpoint and getting the kill here will be all square. Purple buff on the left-hand side, now looks like Alka angry again. Exordium really being dominant on this left-hand side of the map so far.
Now the thing is, these invades are all fine and dandy, but they definitely need to confirm their own buffs on top of it, because they're not getting that much experience and gold from the opponent's side of the jungle before the 15-minute mark, where that becomes even Stevens for both sides. So now that they are getting these left side camps, this is where the swing really starts to show itself. Angry level 5, Kespainify just freezing the wave, hoping he'll deny 1, maybe 2 melee minions. It's not looking too great for Flashpoint.
No, and this matchup is a little bit risky for Angry as the game goes on, I feel, because once Jing gets crit online, one quick crit from Kespainify could cause a lot of problems for him. It will be a bit of a dance, though, between the two. Silences versus the Circle of Protection versus the Airstrike over there. And I'm just keeping an eye on the Janus, making an impact, potentially, with those 3 spacing times. Froisan in the mid lane, though, level 4 at the moment. Still needs to go back and get those boots sooner rather than later.
And so far, everything is coming out pretty well for Exordium on all 3 lanes. Yeah. Even Cozy onto this King Arthur in the Soling has gotten 3 Totem of Coups. So we're seeing a 375 gold advantage now for all of Exordium. The movement speed, the MP5 that you're getting. You see how Itori and Alka dip under that tier 1 mid tower. They're getting the Totem of Coup buff for that MP5 to be very spam-oriented. Hachiman passive already gives you plenty of MP5 to play with as long as you're basic attacking minions. You add Totem of Coup to that, and now he's never running out of mana.
Definitely. Also shows as well when you look at the compositions here, the Flashpoint knew they were going to lose the laning phase with the gods they drafted here. Janus, Jingwei, and the Amaterasu. You're not going to have much pressure in any of those lanes whatsoever.
It felt like that was the same mindset in Game 1 when they drafted the Kali, the Kukulkan, but instead, the game that they lost, they go back to a same idea of a strategy, except different picks.
Yeah, same sort of thing, but focused a little bit more around Johnny as well. Something on a type of assassin that's not a hyper carry, a consistent carry is what I call a Hun Bats over a hyper one.
Not successful in the third red buff, stripping up the away for Exos, but instead trying to go for the purple buff, easily able to get that one. Now that level 5 has been onto Johnny, he has access to the Fear No Evil. It becomes harder to make these kinds of invades and not get punished for it.
Sorry, was looking at pinching the angle there with the fact that he had Froisan and Alka on the rotation. Problem was that he didn't really want to get into a trade with Johnny there, and that Fear No Evil would have been a bit of an awkward situation. Would have definitely cost him his beats potentially. There, right and half is going to go down here as we're still all square. Build's coming along, however, FaraKrik this time going for the Shoes of Focus on the Janus for the extra cooldown reduction. Went pen last game.
Yeah, he did go pen because he went for Chronos Pendant into the Soul Gem. So that means he's probably going to finish the Chronos Pendant still, but he's not going to go for the Soul Gem probably this time.
Sibi under a lot of pressure. Good route. Poison sets up Cozy for that. And then he Doomsday punches him to the back of them. Well, that's the end of that. Nice pick over on that solo lane.
Yeah, that Mystic Rush to confirm it was a great way to get that one before that dazzling offensive. Itori, though, trying to get away a 180.
That horse is OP. You see Juke the Unstable Vortex. FaraKrik needs to juke harder now than he ever did. Luckily enough, he'll have the portal to do just that. Johnny jumps over the wall, but it's Exordium that ended up getting first on the right-hand side. Meanwhile, in the duo lane, we're going to fight.
Yeah, this should be an advantage for Angry. He gets off the poke there, but keep in mind, Kespainify still has the airstrike, but he can't get under a specific threshold because you could just drop that circle protection, not even let it charge all the way to its full capacity, and then just pop it for a good amount of damage.
Oh, for sure. It's a very interesting fight to watch them dance like that too. Neither of one of them wanted to invest their ultimates, all their beads in that situation. The trade worked out favorably for the moment for Angry, although Kespainify can always quickly return from base as he's doing right now with that Jing Wei and not really miss too much farm.
It feels like Angry is more of a mage player than it is like a hunter player. Like his Chronos game 2, he was just farming, which is what you're supposed to do. But on the Thoth and on the Isis in games 1 and 3, he's more confident in his positioning and his aggression, but he can't let that play into a trap.
Kespainify, I don't think he saw Alka there, but Alka's busy clearing the buff instead, which I think is the right call. Try and deny more of this farm because Kespainify continue to allow Angry to extend the lead because of it.
Looking for something in mid maybe, but when you're three-way splitting like this, you're really hurting FaraKrik. Flashpoint probably should be looking for other things to farm and maybe defend their purple buff at this point. Kespainify actually stops Alka. No, okay, he left just the one small minion instead.
Alka's got a habit of doing that now, just leaving that one little baby in the camps just to try and reset a little bit more. What's that one kill so far? Gold Fury attempts this game. Definitely favouring the team with the Isis on it. Although there is a Fear No Evil for Johnny here, so it could be a bit of a battle of wills between those two ultimates.
Definitely could be the case. An interesting different build that we're seeing from Fusify's shoe selection. Shoes of the Magi for a Kukulkan support. Uncommon. Because normally you want to get either Reinforced Shoes, Traveler Shoes, or even Shoes of Focus. Why not get the mana and the CDR?
I mean, it's great for the Epic Uppercut burst to an extent. I guess he's not too worried about dot damage because there's not much dot damage, so...
Here comes the burst!
The burst, let's see how it goes. The Fear No Evil. Horsey, don't you stop. Fear No Evil, dot will be enough! Johnny jumps over the damage out as Alka is landing down on this Horus. Fusify could be the world of hers. He's knocked with the sky, that's passive kicks in. Cozy making a rotation too as Johnny was trying to help out his teammate. He eats more than he bargained for from Froisan, and Froisan's ult will just separate him further enough away to make it a 1-for-1 support for mid lane. Good gank onto Itori overall.
Oh, Johnny has no mana now, but he does secure the speed buff. He even invested his jump. Not sure if Exordium were fully aware of that. And you know what, Hindu? I'm going to eat my words. I think that play doesn't happen without Shoes of the Magi there. That last tick of Fear No Evil wouldn't have been allowed without that 15 penetration.
But then when you look back at the end of the game, is it going to be worthwhile? That's the real question. Was that one play really worth the entire game? We'll see.
I think so, honestly. Trading support for mid laner. Kespainify.
Big dive. Oh, caught him just as he went agility away from danger. Going to try and dive to the tower here before Johnny can rotate in.
Smart.
Make sure he doesn't get the kill.
I love that decision making there. Chose to sacrifice himself. Gives an assist, I believe, to Johnny from just being in range, but better than giving kill credit at the end of the day. And this is the confidence going through. Actually, no assist onto Johnny whatsoever. He did get the kill under the mid tower, so wasn't able to get in range.
That then it's 3-1 with about 2k gold lead. Now Exordium, much like game 1, are in control again. But the difference is that Flashpoint look a little bit better throughout the game. I don't think they've got the same sort of late game standard that they had once upon a time in the previous 2 games, but I do think they've still got a solid one.
They definitely have teamfight potential there. I like the Kukulkan CC potential with the Hun Bats. You can force speed so easily, and even Sibi to capitalize with a dazzling offensive that rushed the breastplate of Valor, and also going for Ninja Tabi. Very uncommon to see on an Amaterasu, but the extra mana is nice. The attack speed to build the passive, the debuff aura that gives you 10% damage amplification. Not a bad thing.
Cozy just swung towards the mid lane here, but everybody kind of sniffed the danger out. Johnny was looking that direction at the same time, so no real pressure for now. I was just wondering if Cozy was going to hang around a little bit longer. We may have seen a bit of a golden for early attempt, but Angry is having a lot of fun against Kespainify in this lane matchup, having a lot of these Wingust and Spirit Balls to keep the pressure going. Circle of Protection is up again here, remember. And this is kind of what Angry's plan is try and pressure Kespainify back to base as often as possible.
It's a bait.
But here comes Johnny.
It's a bait. Kespainify staying in the lane, and Angry's like, there's no way you would come here by yourself on purpose, is there?
Fear no evil out, forces the beach from Angry, and Angry was looking for the silence first. Turn around with Circle of Protection, jukes out the somersault. Wingust is good. And here comes Horus.
Trying to make the counterplay. Johnny's jump is down, and as is his life.
With that, Alka tries to get back under his tower, but the uppercut from Fusify is going to take out Angry. And then we've got a quick pause coming through here at 4-2. Bit of a backwards and forwards encounter. Angry though on that play. Very interesting. He went for a silence.
He did.
Got it cancelled out by the Fear No Evil, had to beads, and that kind of just threw him off a little bit.
It did, and honestly, he was so aggressive under that tier 1 tower that I'm surprised he didn't get ganked earlier onto this game. Same way he was playing the Thoth. Once he had a little bit of a lead, he's hugging the tower line of Kespainify, and that's the kind of side lane trap. When you have the advantage, you want to extend it. But you have to worry about these rotations, and with his life now sacrificed, Kespainify has an opportunity to come back into this game.
Good news is, though, is at least Johnny died with that too, so it was a bit of a trade-out overall. If you're going to get ganked there, like you said, though, Kespainify definitely showed off a little bit of that gank potential by sticking around as long as he did, so Angry had an idea that gank was coming.
And the perfectly timed Circle of Protection before the up-down from Johnny. If Johnny avoids that damage, I think he might have lived there from Alka's counter-rotation, but instead, mechanics a little bit too fast there from the Isis.
So at the moment, quick pause in this game. We're currently tied up at 1-1 in this encounter between the two. Exordium just having a bit of an answer to that gank from Johnny there, making a 1-for-1 trade. It looks like everybody did manage to get away from the danger, fall back to base. And here we go with still a 2k lead for Exordium.
Johnny, I think, might be working on Transcendence. It could be a Heartseeker as well. We'll see how it goes. I would like to see Transcendence just because of the 10% CDR. Hunbats with more CDR for extra Fear No Evils is never a bad thing, right? And this early on, from Heartseeker's point of view, you're not getting that much value out of the percent damage as health, knowing that not everyone is the highest level that they can be. They don't have the most health in their build selection, so that also gives you a power curve that's more accelerated towards the late game by stacking up Transcendence now.
See how it goes with that as well. The Jotun's Wrath, though, not something we see as often as we used to. It used to be a core item, and every single jungler would pick it up as their first one after boots. But now and again, we don't see that anymore. Brawl is kind of has taken that spot to an extent for, well, I guess, cheaper cost and stat lines being a little bit different.
More penetration from Brawler's Speed Stick. 15 as opposed to the standard 10 coming through from the Crusher, from also the Jotun's Wrath. So if you're looking for extra damage, you want Brawler's Speed Stick. And then it also sets you up to a point where you're limiting some of the self-sustain out of your opposing members. Kazi on the King Arthur is relying on the Gladiator Shield. Froisan on the Shadow Fists. Itori doesn't have any built-in sustain or in his build quite yet. Wouldn't be surprised, though, to see if he goes for the Aussie. Angry and Alka, though, on the other hand, does have some team sustain. Yeah,
definitely a balancing act, though, when you, in terms of builds. If you can go Brawlers or Jotuns, and you're like, well, I can get cooldown, but less penetration and damage, or do I want to spam more ability so I do more damage anyway? Uppercut hits onto Alka. Alka doesn't really panic too much with those reinforced Greaves and the Thebes online. And stacking up, he'll be healthy enough to weather that for now. Sibi rotating towards the middle area here, as is Cozy.
That was a huge moral victory for Fusify to get both of those Oracles, just to use the Epic Uppercut. It's a short cooldown in its own right.
Oh, interesting to see Sibi trying to defend this buff from Cozy. It was Cozy that went in to try and steal this away. All the while, Exordium now commits to the Gold Fury. Circle Protection, one of the best ultimate securing this. They're just going to hold it and explode at the right time and do just that. The space and time ultimate could cause problems through that wall as the Fear No Evil does connect with 2 targets, but the peel away from the Horus is good. Itori, though, has been left alone. Has his ultimate available and stands tall for quite a while. Now Sibi going to go to the battle and look for Itori, and he's going to use the ult away and avoid the damage. Froisan still, though, meanwhile, will take down Dzoni as Kespainify force out the fight too. Gold Fury did go down, remember, for Exordium. And after the fight, Dzoni fell, which means that there's a bigger win for Exordium.
Absolutely agree with you, Hindu man. Flashpoint caught with their pants down. That ultimate from FaraKrik actually helps Exordium kill the Gold Fury a little bit faster. And that's the gamble you take when you're using the through space and time. You don't necessarily have the best timing window predictability as the Circle of Protection was used from Angry. So you can even eat that ultimate, mitigate the damage, heal it back through. Good patience from Exordium to hold onto that objective, forcing Flashpoint in a weird little predicament as they were all funneling down a corridor.
And I want to give credit to Cozy as well, because his invade on that speed buff brought Sibi over to him and not towards the Gold Fury fight.
Yep.
Sibi and the Amaterasu with that ultimate can make a big impact in those team fights, force resets quite easily with it. But Cozy causing a distraction kept Sibi away from the engagement, which made it a little bit easier.
I agree, it does make it easier, but at the same time, to have a King Arthur there is also very impactful, right? Like, even the hamstring cripple on certain gods like Dzoni and FaraKrik, like, you can't use those portals as well. Fusify.
There's a lot of pressure here, but he's quite tanky at the moment. We'll have his uppercut, and a pull from FaraKrik saves the day to keep his Russian teammate alive.
And this is going to be a good momentum for Exordium. Now that there's a 2-level lead from Kazi, he should be making these rotations every single wave. Get this tier 1 mid tower down, gain some map control, and not only Kazi, but maybe Angry on the ices to boot.
FaraKrik going to get focused by Froisan a little bit, but FaraKrik would just slip through the wall away from the ultimate out from Froisan. Kespainify rotating on the Jing way now, and an ult from Sibi towards Froisan puts him under more pressure too. He ends up falling down. Angry now gets to the fight, space and time fired. Won't find a home on anybody. Itori was perfectly safe where he was. Sibi's health bar dwindling. He has to fall back too. Just that one pick in the jungle on Froisan then. He was a little bit far forward.
And Dzoni was about to use that Fear No Evil up until Kazi took him to the sky with the Excalibur's Wrath, using the bees just to disengage. But Froisan still falls to the heavy loaded damage Flashpoint grouping of very well to punish Exordium if they're the ones that got out of position. Sibi was using that dazzling offensive effectively.
Looks like we're seeing the Hydra's coming out from Dzoni next on this build path by the looks.
Ah,
it will be the Transcendence.
that's good too.
Solid on Hombats, right?
Sure, yeah, you definitely want to be able to weave your basic attacks between the Sacred Monkey Toss to reset it. You're still getting cooldown reduction same way you are with the Transcendence, but you don't have to wait for the power curve to stack up the same way you would with Transcendence.
Good defense from Angry there on his own purple buff. Just waits around the corner and Wingus over the wall. Mage abilities over the wall. Not every mage can shoot abilities over the wall. Most of them can, though, and the ones that do can definitely have an impact like that.
Yeah, this level 15 Isis now has 40% CDR with her build. Angry feeling pretty, I think, with his player damage as well, feeling very frisky as all of Exordium, forcing a defensive ultimate out of FaraKrik that has opted for the Divine Ruin this game.
Yeah, good work from Cozy there, but I think the ult was definitely forced because of all the teammates of Exordium still around Cozy. Pyroman's going to get pulled, and Angry's over here. Just give Kespainify a chance to go for a tier 1 tower. And actually, you can see him now. They're going to commit to the fire giant. He also knows space and time now. Frenzy popped. Here we go.
Angry still holding on to that circle of protection. Sibi will stun him out, forcing out a beat.
And there's the circle of protection going down, but Angry's dead. The fire giant's still alive. Dzoni gets a double kill off the Fear No Evil. Froisan will at least get 2 back in control. And Itori collapses on FaraKrik, but can't find the kill. He'll slip through a portal again.
Kazi gonna take the unstable vortex for his troubles. The Mez, Cozy still gonna get chased down here, but mission accomplished for Flashpoint. They lose 2 members, but they stop the fire giant attempt.
Cozy's gonna get whittled down in his health bar there on that right-hand side and taken out. And all that's left is Froisan and Itori on your screen now to try and survive and just hold on. What do you think about the call, Tolly?
It was very aggressive.
Yeah.
I think the patience and hesitation from Angry Circle of Protection cost his life a little bit. He wanted to use that ultimate, though. Flashpoint steal it away. Oh, no, they got it.
Flashpoint secured, don't worry. I looked at that too, and he took it away. Space and time won't connect. Unstable vortex, however, that will.
So I was going to say how Angry, when he used the Circle of Protection, it was more about trying to get the Fire Giant as opposed to keeping himself alive against Sibi's ultimate. That Dazzling Offensive does so much damage when you get hit by all 3 shots. You're taking 20% extra damage from the previous shot if it's consecutive, and Angry uses the beads to avoid the stun, but not the Aegis. So I would like to see him at least use that relic to survive a little bit longer.
Now the Pyromancer's down, though only Fury is available here, and Flashpoint got here in numbers. Angry's going to be the closest one to it, but he can't really do much against the whole armada of Flashpoint being around. So Angry will have to surrender that, as now these minions will start to pour a little bit heavier down these lanes. Fire Giant could be a new option.
Exordium had about 2 red buff invades, 3 purple buff invades, couple of oracles to their name, or sorry, Totemakus on top of that, and they're the ones now dropping the ball because of such an aggressive play. The defensive ultimate from FaraKrik triggered the call to start that Fire Giant.
Johnny somersaults over the wall towards Angry, and Angry doesn't have beads available. He won't get a chance to get away from the Fear No Evil. Good pick from Johnny there.
This is going to be a downhill spiral from Exordium if they don't get their act together. Johnny has now really gotten online, finishing off even the Shifter Shield after the Hydra's Lament. Looking like a tier 2 towers. Fusify zoning away Itori.
Exactly. Love what Fusify did there, just walks up. But you see Horus hovering, looks for Kespainify. Kespainify won't panic too much though, and a good agility away will save him. Cozy, meanwhile, walks into danger against Johnny and FaraKrik. Or is it the other way round there? FaraKrik took way more damage than bargained for. We're going to have a quick pause here, just as that space and time was fired.
A little surprising to see that through space and time being fired, honestly. It felt like a frustration ultimate, because I don't see kill potential there onto Kazi. This high-level King Arthur should be safe in that mid lane, but Angry, yet again, doesn't really see the rotation here from the Hunbats, and he's constantly going to get picked off if he's not going to have that vision.
Okay, pause succeeded and over with, and now we can go back to the game and see where we're at. 3k gold lead for Flashpoint as it stands, which isn't that much totally with how this game is being played. Experience is about the same too, 2,500 experience, not that much. Sibi mid though, gets a good silence off onto Itori, and that's going to force his ultimate, and Alka to fall back too. This isn't a very good tier 1 tower to dance around though, from Exordium's point of view, because a strong wind could blow that over.
Definitely agree with you, but this CDR from Sibi to trade it off with Itori's ultimate, heavily going to favor out Flashpoint for the next engagement, and the team fight is what it's going to come down to. The leads in the experience are gold, insignificant compared to the true team fight potential. Sibi with the Amaterasu is what I'm really looking at, to how to exploit the mobility, as well as FaraKrik on the Janus. This Threshold Portal Amaterasu aura is going to go the distance.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what Fusify can do now, because it's a big game on his shoulders. 2 Magi's cloaks for Exordium here on both the Raven and the Horus. If he can get those yawns off on those priority targets now and just shred those, it's going to make it a little bit easier for Johnny to use those Fear No Evils and make a bigger difference in the fights. Kespainify eating a ton of pressure there. That Spirit Ball was on target. Lovely work. Froisan still chasing, no blink available. Ultimate was up, but I don't think he could have chased without the space and time punishing him. Speaking of space and time, here it comes.
Angry and Froisan in a 2v3. Angry Circle Protection, a little bit too late.
Oh, I really love the fact that I see a Cursed Donkin play as well from Froisan there. Sorry, not from Froisan, from Fusify. They just shut down any healing that could have come out from the Circle of Protection. Johnny will fall. FaraKrik under pressure. Great stun from Alka, but Fusify and Sibi are in the fray, and Sibi will secure the kill on Froisan. FaraKrik did manage to fall back as the horse will gallop away for the time being.
A 2-for-1 as Kespainify is now healthy from all the pressure he received, making his rotation down to the mid lane instead. Fury's not up. Maybe Fire Giant is the play, actually.
It's definitely that situation where Flash was like, okay guys, we won the fight, what do we do now? And there's nothing to really do, apart from if you're on the complete other side of the map.
They already got the tier 2 tower in the long lane previously, so the right call is to disengage. Pyromancer not up either, so instead just going to elect to farm, wait for the respawning of Johnny, as these team fights from Flashpoint have been looking better and better once they are grouping up, transporting themselves with that through space and time. I love how Flashpoint responds to Exordium's pressure. And yet again, the trap that Janus sets up for a team into a false sense of security, where you think you have a play on the Jing way, and then all of a sudden you're the ones getting turned on.
You guys just got to think about how far away you are from your own tower safety, or how far away is that space and time from being fired at you? You know, that's always the big trick. And then with Johnny just jumping through those poles alongside Fusify, it's always going to be hell. Yon comes out from Fusify here, just going to break that Magi's cloak, but really trying to defend the wards around the Fire Giant pit. Kespainify will come in and drop a sentry of his own to clear out the one that was just placed.
And honestly, if Alka doesn't have Magi's cloak there, Fusify would be the one winning the little ward battle. So every exchange, once Magi's cloak is up, it'll be Alka securing himself that 120 gold benefit.
Alka was watching on towards the Pyromancer, trying to stop taking that under the nose of Exordium. But Exordium weren't really in a position to do anything. Mid lane, Johnny being focused by Froisan. Meanwhile, though, Alka surges away to safety as Cozy taking a lot of damage there, but did a good job of juking that ult from Sibi to avoid the stun. Epic uppercut, though, will hit onto Cozy, but Cozy's still tanky enough because the unstable Vortex did not connect from FaraKrik. And here comes Horus.
Trying to go into the backline. The Fear No Evil separates the team fight ever so slightly. Cursed on from Fusify in the backline, though. The 3 frontliners are going in.
And they need to do work here. Flashpoint on the backside because Johnny went down with that Fear No Evil, not really doing too much. Fusify got isolated and gets picked up. And Exordium now is starting to win this fight. Cozy's looking at FaraKrik, will force him to portal away. Just 2 members of Flashpoint left alive. This could be a Fire Giant, especially with Angry still having that ultimate available.
I like how Exordium baited out Johnny's Fear No Evil with that Horus ultimate. He thought there was going to be more players taking that ultimate. Instead, it was only Alka at the end of the day, and that was the only member that fell from Exordium. And now, a safer call to group up and not do the Fire Giant, knowing that FaraKrik's CDR is very high. He already has the ultimate available.
If they can kill this Janus, they could come in for a Fire Giant. Still, Froisan looking towards him as Sibi trying to slow down Exordium's advance towards the tier 2 tower. With minions not being there, takes a little bit longer than bargained for. The damage is done. Tier 1 and Tier 2 in the mid lane. Froisan will be fine with the overhead kick to escape. But that Fire Giant is still an option here.
Definitely is, but the Primal Fury is looking mighty juicy as well. Flashpoint really utilizing their mobility between this Janus and Amaterasu to kind of shove Exordium back, delaying some of their returns to the fountain. Alka, though, could be in a bad predicament in a 1v5.
Love this call from Flashpoint to go for the Primal Fury here, because even if they do see Exordium commit to a Fire Giant, space and time can get him over there no problem as a whole squad. Now that Primal Fury will help them out the next Fire Giant if it's required.
7% damage amplification to jungle bosses and 7% reduced damage from those objectives. And once Fire Giant becomes enhanced, you definitely feel the damage from that objective if you're a squishy Jing or a Janus. So Flashpoint confirming the first stack of the Primal Fury.
And that enhanced Fire Giant you were just talking about will be at the 30-minute mark, so a couple more minutes out from that. Fusify in the Fire Giant pit, trying to de-ward where possible and stop Exordium doing the same thing. FaraKrik in the mid lane, though, always keep an eye on where the Janus is, and also where that monkey is in the jungle. Speaking of a crazy man in the jungle, Fusify just blinked into a dangerous area but couldn't find a target to go for. He'll land the Groggy Strike on Alka, who won't panic, he'll just surge back towards a teammate as the dance of the Fire Giant starts to begin.
It's a little close for comfort for both of these teams to pull the trigger onto that objective. We saw what Exordium tried to do about 5 to 8 minutes ago, were unsuccessful in their attempt, so Flashpoint gonna remember that if they were to ever start it. I like the attempt though, to look for burning of the Magi's cloaks, maybe burning of some beads, abusing the fact that Itori still doesn't have Aegis for another 15 seconds.
Sentry Ward dances here, because you can see Alka's got a Sentry Ward, but so does Fusify. You can just see the trade-out happen there, but the problem is that Exordium are completely out of wards in the inventory to try and re-secure this, so as long as Fusify doesn't make a mistake with his ward placement, and his team's there to back him up, that Fire Giant pit is all for Flashpoint for now.
Flashpoint are just looking for the positioning of Angry and to see if they can isolate him in the pack, knowing that they have through space and time. FaraKrik on the right side, and Sibi on the back.
He's going straight towards Angry Day on the backside here. Angry forced to use the beads defensively through space and time, deleting Itori's health bar for the time being. Spitball over the wall, won't find a target. It will force Flashpoint back for a second. Talking about backing, that's Itori doing that right about now and needs to soon. That's another benefit that Flashpoint have this game, Tolly. Their mobility from base is pretty strong for their carries in terms of having the likes of Jing and also like Janus.
A lot of archers there, about 9 archers to be exact, but making the rotation is going to be Froisan. Actually, 12 archers there, 4 waves worth of archers grouped up there. And that was only about 8 to 10 seconds worth of damage. If Froisan wasn't there, that Phoenix might have been gone.
There's definitely changes to those minions as well, because once upon a time, those minions used to focus other minions first before the Phoenix. But now the threat on those Phoenix lines is a little bit different now. They pay full attention to destroying the structure rather than each other.
As long as there's no god that has god aggro.
sometimes that's one thing people do underestimate. Like getting aggro against yourself will actually allow you to save a Phoenix or a tower sometimes.
It's true, you know, it's for the greater good, as they say. Now trying to do the little Fire Giant dance yet again is Flashpoint, trying to push and pull, realizing that the beads is still down from Angry, the frenzy out of Alka, not available quite yet.
Love the call from Froisan, just pushing that mid lane a little bit, try and put some pressure somewhere on the map for Flashpoint to fall back to. Fire Giant at half health here. You can see Itori trying to stay at range, as is Angry at the moment. They're both so worried about getting picked off by the Sibi or the space and times, or even a Fear No Evil. Kespainify in the backside has been isolated by Froisan there, and Cozy did great work. Meanwhile, Exordium's back nine did a good job of staying safe for now. Spirit Ball came through from Angry there, but Dzoni was just out of range and even somersaulted if it was required to get away from it. Cozy, though, still aggressing on, and Froisan is joining in tow. Fusify has to use the throwback to get a bit of distance for himself. There's still the chases on from Exordium. Just a one-man pick so far in that one, because Kespainify still dead for the next 30+ seconds.
I like how patient Exordium's backline was. Angry was basically hovering just near the outside of his tier 2 tower. Itori not too far behind. Sibi, though, diving the backline again, 4 on 5.
Down. Angry gets bursted over the wall by the unstable Vortex, and FaraKrik slips the noose that was Froisan with a portal over the wall. Horus into play, though, to try and help him out, but FaraKrik now on a double kill. Janus is starting to swing for the fences consistently, and you can tell it's starting to pay off. Cozy gets a good ult off on Dzoni, but Dzoni doing a good job of somersaulting away, and a great silence from Sibi there keeps Dzoni alive a little bit longer, but Alka chases him over the wall and secures the kill. FaraKrik does end up falling down, chasing on that kill to try and support Dzoni a little bit. Crazy engagement, 3 for 2 in favor of Exordium.
It really was, and I like the idea there. They eliminate Angry from the equation. His beads were still not available there. There wasn't even a Fear No Evil required to get that kill, and without circular protection, it's harder to confirm the Fire Giant objective. Itori was busy plucking away Fusify, so he couldn't make that rotation in mid as quickly as he would have wanted to. And I like how Flashpoint are making Exordium really battle their way into this game.
I completely agree. Primal Fury Sports, sorry, Oni Fury, I should say, is spawning momentarily. Kespainify is going to be there. Going to be a little bit concerned about the Fire Giant attempt from Exordium, though. They couldn't fully commit to this. Angry's not going to be there for a second or two. But the real damage dealer here is going to be Itori on this Hachiman. He's really here to try and burst this down. Bad news is Sibi's mobility is zooming. He's going to zoom into the Fire Giant pit and start throwing out the ultimate to slow them down. Fire Giant still being loose. There's Fusify back in the fray too. It's up to Exordium to choose to commit or take the fight.
Trying to go for it is Sibi. He's going to go down. Fusify can't really make it happen as well. It's up to Kespainify to do something about it.
Circle protection's down. This is getting a bit awkward now, but it looks okay. Exordium will get the Fire Giant. Cozy on the backside gets aggressive towards Kespainify, and over the wall jumps Dzoni with a Fear No Evil, splits the difference. Fusify back into the field, Fear No Evil to the safety, but it won't keep him alive long enough. Dzoni does take out Alka in response, though. That's a huge Spirit Ball from Angry, hits FaraKrik, and that's what you're after in the Isis versus Janus matchup. Those Spirit Balls or silences connect, you're gonna have a bad time.
Great dash from Itori, seeing the stun, needing to be in position for the damage, because if you let a Janus breathe for just a moment to recollect himself after a CC, he's gone through a wall. So great play from them. Exordium get the Fire Giant, enhance Fire Giant, take out 3 members, and are on the verge of getting this middle Phoenix.
They should be able to get the Phoenix, I feel, as long as they can play around Dzoni and Kespainify a little bit. Neither of them have an ultimate for a moment or two. Johnny's will be up sooner rather than later with the cooldown in this build. Sibi is on his way, though, and they need to burst this quick before he gets there with that ultimate and do just that. Exordium getting middle Phoenix, and this kind of splits the map open a little bit more so now. There's still 2 towers remaining in the left and right hand lanes of the Flashpoint, so Exordium are going to have to take a bit of time to bring those down. And you know what might help them do that? An Oni Fury.
Yeah, why not get the Oni Fury to follow it up? Kespainify had to concede that objective earlier to try to stop that Fire Giant.
Really a cheeky steal away from Sibi there. Too close for comfort in my eyes, as Horus also used the ult there just to reposition for Alka. And now with that, we've got about a 5k gold lead. It's more to do with the middle Phoenix being down, and the Fire Giant still being on Exordium for the next 3.5 minutes.
You can definitely tell Exordium are a little bit inexperienced with some of the sieges. Despite having the enhanced Fire Giant and doing extra damage to that Phoenix, they still used the Circle of Protection in a position that they weren't really getting touched or harassed.
I think it might have been they were a little bit worried Johnny might have had his Fear No Evil on, right? Because if he's got the Fear No Evil, at least you have the Circle of Protection, so it protects you from him wanting to dive to your backline potentially.
Sure, but that's a 3-on-4, not in Flashpoint's favor.
Sure.
So if you bait out that aggressive Fear No Evil play, you can easily still beat, use the ultimate in time, because it's not as though Johnny's going to 100-0 you in a second. It'll take him a couple of abilities and a couple of basic attacks, and with how long it takes to channel that overhand smash, you have time to beat, use your circle protection, mitigate that damage, heal yourself back up, and then turn it around and disrupt that overhand smash between either the silence or the stun.
Well, the Circle of Protection is back up now anyway. The Middle Phoenix is still down for a while longer. Now the siege begins on the left-hand side with a full Oni minion wave here too. This should help him out a little bit more on tanking up a couple of shots. Johnny and Froisan going to meet him on this middle area. He's also got a Magi's Cloak here to survive some of the damage, but look at how quick that Phoenix is falling. Frenzy's popped as Sibi gets to the backline looking for stuns. Itori took a whole ton of damage off that engagement though, and needs to run for his life at this point in time. The Janus is still alive. Froisan round the back. Johnny's dead, but his ultimate's still up.
Yeah, Froisan won the 1v1. I mean, how can you really stop him with the Mad Guy's Cloak up? You can't if you're a Hun Bats. There needs to be somebody else to proc that Mad Guy's Cloak.
And now with that, the Phoenix on the left-hand side falls. Alka jumps in with the ultimate to try and get a bit of peel away from the rest of the team. And Fusify does get his yawn off and turns tail. I don't mind the turn tail call here. Tries to slow down the team from pushing in the base and makes a bit of distance between Froisan and the rest of the team. Froisan will get away. Some cozy sieging up the front side here. This could be the end of the game.
It is.
Pouring through mid. And Exordium are going to be Flashpoint. Are we serious?
This is the very first victory for Exordium. They are now 1-7 as Flashpoint get their third loss, and now they are almost eliminated from the running of Hi-Res Expo.
So they've still got a chance.
They still have a mathematical
Even after
chance.
this? Okay. That was a crazy game, though, from Exordium's point of view. I think both me and you through this was like, this is not the good Flashpoint that we've seen all year. But at the same time, I still expect them to win this, even though they went down again.
Something was definitely off about Flashpoint this entire set. Game 2 looked way different than games number 1 and 3. Exordium, though, a lot of credit to how they played in both those games. Alka aggressively playing those assassins in games 1 and 2 to switch it up now onto this Horus in game number 3, I think is the winning condition that they needed.
Completely agree. I think Exordium played that very, very well. Sure, we're talking about Flashpoint maybe underperforming here, but full credit to Exordium and their 2-1 victory here today. That's it for the first set of Europe Minor League. We've still got one more to come, and that'll be right after this break.